and other paramedics responded to a medical emergency at the downtown transit center in Appleton. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy with lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in Milwaukee with highs in the upper 40s. For Madison, mostly cloudy and breezy with a chance of rain and highs in the mid-50s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's Political Talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, welcome to the big show. Were you happy about the outcome last night? Game of Thrones!
Crudy, happy Blue Monday, my friend. You know, the game or the show actually started a little late for me watching the Bucks game. Double overtime, loss. Oh my God, then I had to pay $20 to Canadian Rob.
That was so frustrating. It kept on bouncing on the rim and just go in.
Nothing went in. So what? Started Game of Thrones super late. Worst Game of Thrones party ever. But we had a lot of fun. And I you know, the endings of popular shows sometimes don't go the way everyone thinks they should go. But, you know, in my opinion, I've been kind of reflecting on the ending. And yeah, I was entertained.
Well, that's good, as long as Dominic was entertained joining like 30 minutes late. Do you even know that the Dragon Lady Daenerys, did you even know that her boyfriend Jon stabbed her? Or is that boyfriend/nephew Jon Snow stabbed her? Took out his girl, man.
Wow, come on, man. I mean, she blew through the whole town, killing everybody. She was a tyrant. What are you going to do?
Now, Dominic, the last great series on HBO, I think that we all anticipated the ending of, not Veep. I'm not talking about Veep per se. I'm talking about The Sopranos, man. Remember how that one ended? And there was so much controversy, just fade to black. And this show last night sort of ended with a whimper. Kind of went out with a whimper, Dom. No big climactic finish. I mean, what, Jon Snow marching to the north?
It seems appropriate, though, right? Now, here's my thought. Now, Jon Snow technically had claim to the throne, right? Because he was the bastard son of a previous king, et cetera, et cetera. And then, although after he murdered his aunt/girlfriend, couldn't he just do that to get the throne? I mean, everyone was killing each other for the throne anyway. I mean, technically, it was his anyway. And while it may have been unfortunate, the circumstances of her death, he was the rightful king anyway. Who's going to put him in jail? But
kind of cleared the path for himself, didn't he?
I would think so. I mean, the throne was right there until the dragon melted it. But no, I was entertained. But, Crudy, what about Seinfeld? I mean, talk about shows that have gone off the air, or MASH, or any of these other classics that we grew up with.
Let me talk about MASH for just a minute. Perhaps the greatest TV show ever, at least in terms of viewership of the finale. And maybe here's my disappointment. Here's what would have been good last night, Game of Thrones. If that dragon had just started blasting fire, just burning words. The fire, of course, probably would have been humanity. It would have been burning people. And then it just said, goodbye.
What? That's
the end of MASH.
Oh, the
Hawkeye
MASH. Yes,
flies up in the helicopter, and the words in stone. BG, I believe, put them there.
Oh, that's it?
It says goodbye in stones. Well, I wanted to see the dragon, burn it out in humanity. I guess that was the episode before.
Yeah, there's a lot of ash flowing around.
So anyways, I wasn't terribly disappointed. Not my story to tell, Dom. What about that aspect of the ending? The Bran the Broken, he becomes the king. because he has the best story to tell. Well, Dom, sort of turning this little conversation political, there's like 25 Democratic candidates, 24, 23, depending on whether you consider de Blasio serious or not. But here's the thought. Isn't that where they started like 8 years ago? Game of Thrones could have been one of many, many characters. And it sort of went itself down, right? You know, this guy gets eaten by a dragon. This guy gets fed to some hounds. Somebody dies in a pool. The White Walker gets that one. You know, it kind of weeded itself out. But Dominic, the Democratic field, it seems like we got a front runner. Seems like Joe Biden's going to run away with this one. And then, Dominic, I got some reassuring polling today out of an early state, Iowa. And it all starts with Iowa. And guess what? Bernie Sanders right there with Joe Biden. It's a tie. It's a dead heat in Iowa. Bernie and Biden at 24% apiece. Dom, I still think Bernie could win the throne.
Well, that's certainly better than the Fox News polling. Had
Now,
Biden up by what? Double digits?
18.
Yeah.
But that, let's consider. A, it's Fox News, can't be trusted. Although I don't take the same attitude some do. Some of the comments on the Fox News polling, I actually published that one on our Facebook page. You can find it at the Devil's Advocates. You can find it at Talk 92.7 FM. And you can find it at WRD 1510 AM. But here's my point, Dom. I put it up, and some people are like, I totally discount that polling. It's Fox News polling. Well, I don't think you can throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, hell, Pete Buttigieg went to Fox News yesterday. We'll talk about that. But I don't think you throw out the Fox News polling. I think there is some validity, but that doesn't mean that I believe it, not casting forward towards, what, a year? I mean, a year or more? The primary won't be decided till maybe June of next year. It'll take a year or more before this sorts itself out. And I would say the broad national picture, certainly Hillary Clinton was kicking Bernie's ass at this time, and Lincoln Chafee and Jim Webb and anybody else that thought they were going to be a Democratic candidate in 2015 turning to 2016, Dom. But the national story does not play out in the same way, the case by case, the caucus by primary, by caucus. I mean, that stuff you got to be very strategic. And I will point this out. Bernie Sanders, if he is in a dead heat, the enthusiasm of the young Bernie supporters will out-caucus the Biden people in Iowa. He'll win by a hair. And then you turn to New Hampshire. Let's not forget, Bernie whooped up on Hillary in New Hampshire. And then you got South Carolina. That's all bets are off on South Carolina. That might be Joe's state to win. But then you come back to another caucus state, Nevada. That's Bernie's to win. And then, hell, it's the big enchilada Super Tuesday, March 3rd, 2020, Dom. And whoever wins California is going to be the front runner from there forward.
So you think potentially, based on some of the state-by-state polling, if not the national, the map and the timing of these first few.
The caucuses, the primaries.
Bernie could go in up basically 3-1 into Super Tuesday.
Well, and, presuming it's not Elizabeth Warren on the climb, Elizabeth Warren doing very well. She's on the up swing in the national polling. I'm not saying Bernie's got this thing won, but currently I think you got to look at Iowa and you got to say, if you win Iowa, you're going to have a ton of momentum. We're going to go from like 25 to maybe 8 candidates after Iowa. And then you better be the comeback kid in New Hampshire, or you're dead. I mean, if you're 7th in Iowa, 9th or 12th in New Hampshire or something like that, you're out of the race. You're dead on arrival. You'll never become the king. You'll be, you might be Bran the Broken. No one saw that one coming either. No one saw Trump coming per se. But once Trump started clearing the decks, Tom, it was clearly Trump. And I'm not sure that Joe Biden has done that yet, despite the Foxy News polling. I think that's who Donald Trump would like to see be the nominee, Dom. A more traditional race. Joe's got, I'm not going to say the creepy allegation. He's got the touchy-feeling stuff that gives Trump a little cover. Trump just touches and feels different parts of the body, Dom, but it's all same, right? It's all relative.
Everybody does it?
Well, right now, I'm not ready to throw in my towel on the horse race. I think that my boy Bernie's got a damn good chance.
The Hill
Looking for the polling. You've
the
got
Hill
to get us
reported.
started.
Yeah. Max Greenwood. Let's jump into it. The Iowa starting line change research poll released Monday shows Biden and Sanders each receiving 24% support among likely Democratic caucus goers in Iowa.
You know what I'm encouraged by? This is not the Loras College poll. That one had
trailed.
Hillary up 26 on caucus night. That's not how it worked out.
No. They are trailed by South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg, who received 14%. Elizabeth Warren, senator from Massachusetts, came in fourth at 12%, and Senator Kamala Harris also had double digits at 10% support. So there wraps it up. The tie between Biden and Sanders in the Hawkeye State differs from the most recent polling. Of course, we mentioned Fox News survey released last week had Biden up 18 over Sanders. The Iowa poll, however, shows a much closer race. The former VP has double-digit support of Sanders among 65 and older, 30 to 15%, according to the Iowa starting line change research poll, but Sanders carries a significant lead over Biden among voters between the ages of between the ages of 18 and 31, a 41 to 9%. Ooh, what is
The young, energized voters, those are the ones I was talking about.
41 to 9, Crudy, that's a huge advantage.
Yeah, but meanwhile, Biden outperforms Sanders among female voters, according to the poll, taking 26% support compared to Bernie's 19%. Sanders, however, has more backing among male voters, 29% of whom said they plan to support the Vermont Senator in 2020. Biden's 21% with the dudes. And to be sure, the Iowa caucuses are still 9 months away, and caucus scores in the state are often wary to commit too early to any particular candidate. Still, Sanders performed well there in 16, coming in a close second. I'd say one, Dom. I think they're still counting votes.
Was that one of the coin flips?
What, whether or not he won? Effectively, like 6 districts came down to coin flips. He came in a close second to Hillary Clinton in the caucus that year. The Iowa starting line change research poll released Monday found that 45% of those who caucused for Sanders in 16 still say the Vermont senator is their first choice in 2020. I would guess more than that. Not a huge poll, Don, but just one state. 615 likely Democratic caucus goers with a margin of error 3.9%.
Who will sit in the White House? Well, we know who sits on the Iron Throne. We got another year to go, plus to find out who wins with the Democratic primary. But I think Sanders is still in it, Crudy. I'm with you, man. Biden is certainly up nationally, but we'll have to wait and see what happens.
We'll see. Now, Fancy Brian found this over the weekend. This is like some guys playing the Game of Thrones theme on guitars. Tom Morello's there. There's lots of great guitarists, but they all like rock out. They play their own solos. I'll let you hear some. And we want to know. We want to hear from you. It's a Monday. Join us on the phones, 844-967-2789. Want to hear who you liking. Are you still with Biden? Bernie, your guy? Maybe Kamala Harris, maybe Elizabeth Warren, maybe Pete Buttigieg. Hell, there's 25 to choose from. One size does not fit all on the Democratic field. Luckily, lots and lots of options on the menu. I'll take the left side of the page. Come back with us. Join us. More Devil's Advocates. Happy Monday.
I drink and I know things.
The one thing we know, and they do say, anybody that runs against Trump suffers.
We can destroy them by burning them, and we can destroy them with dragon glass.
That wall will go up so fast, your head will spin.
If we don't win this fight, then that is the fate of every person in the world.
Billions and 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 billions.
WikiLeaks. 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 That came out on WikiLeaks.
Got unwanted pests in your home or business? Call Get Rid Pest Control at 414-368-0696. State licensed and certified with over 20 years experience, Get Rid Pest Control guarantees their work in the removal of common household pests, including mice, rats, ants, roaches, spiders, centipedes, and bedbugs. Humane trapping and removal of larger pests as well. Unmarked vehicles available upon request. 24-hour emergency service available. Call Get Rid Pest Control today for your free estimate. 414-368-0696. If you got it, we'll get it.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
I don't know if you know the Devil's Advocates, but they are kind of a big deal.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line, always open and toll-free. Talk or text 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I wonder if people are still feeling the burn. You know, Bernie's not getting the headlines like he once was. Joe Biden stealing a lot of the oxygen from the Democratic contenders. So much so that President Donald Trump has declared Bernie dead on arrival. Here's what Trump said about Bernie.
I mean, does this guy have any credibility on any topic ever? I mean, for real.
Well, Trump, I think, does kind of get a sense of the media, and he was looking at the Fox News poll. You know that Trump saw the Fox News poll, saw Biden's up by 18, and thought Bernie's dead. But here's what Trump said via Twitter. Looks like Bernie Sanders is history. Sleepy Joe Biden is pulling ahead. And think about it. I'm only here because of Sleepy Joe and the man who took him off the 1% trash heap. President, exclamation point. China wants Sleepy Joe badly, all caps, exclamation point. Trump tweeted. Biden leads Sanders by nearly 20 points. Talked about that in the Democratic primary race, according to Real Clear Politics polling average. Don't tell that to the people in Iowa, Dom. Trump's message came hours before he scheduled to headline a campaign rally in Pennsylvania, a state he won in 2016, but where Biden, who was born in Scranton, did you know Joe had roots in Scranton, Dom? is making a strong push. The president has repeatedly targeted the former vice president, whom his political team views as a serious contender, even as he has downplayed the threat he poses in the 2020 race. Now, I don't know what Trump thinks about crazy Bernie, my guy, but I know he's got some healthy fear of Joe Biden. And I'm not clear, Dom. I didn't think that Joe Biden would catch fire.
What gives you that impression? Because I'm not clear that this guy has any
rhyme. All the time.
I'm not clear has any rhyme or reason. How do you know he's not playing the opposite, trying to convince you otherwise?
Well, he might bash Fox News for having Pete Buttigieg on, talking about Trump, but he's not going after Kirsten Gillibrand with any sort of regularity. He's not going after, a whole team. Jay Inslee gets no attention from Trump's Twitter stream.
Well, you got 24 people running.
Sleepy Joe
you only
Biden,
have so many tweets in a day, man.
Yeah, but Sleepy Joe Biden, he's getting his attention nearly every day now.
Well,
he knows who
he's up in the polls. Yes.
He thinks that Biden is the contender. He thinks Biden is the threat.
But here's the question. Do you think that he would rather face Biden over Bernie? I think he would. I think Donald Trump would rather go head-to-head with Joe Biden than Bernie Sanders or Kamala Harris or any other 3, 4, 5, 6 that are polling any day.
Well, I think that Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders both are a threat to white males. And I think that they each they have their own constituency.
I think
they're going to take some of the white
men
males.
A threat to the old white men.
Well, a threat to take away from Donald Trump's column. They threaten to be appealing to some of Trump's base voters, or at least those he would perceive to be his base voters, rural people in Wisconsin. Let's not forget, Bernie won 71 to 72 counties in the state of Wisconsin. I think he'd do just fine. If it's Bernie Sanders against Donald Trump in the general in the state of Wisconsin and all comes down to Wisconsin, I'll take that bet on Bernie any day. Let's jump in. Washington Post, Annie Linsky and Michael Schreiber. I want to get this one started. Dom won't have time to finish it up. But Democrats were said to be furious and hungry for change. I still am. Then Biden jumped in. Former Vice President Joe Biden defends his support for the 1994 crime bill that many blame for mass incarceration of blacks. He declares that most Americans are satisfied with private insurance system reviled by the left. He justifies the North American Free Trade Agreement as a pact that made sense at the moment. And to the dismay of many liberals, he won't call for a study of slavery reparations, saying the nation has other ways to fight racism. In the opening weeks as a presidential candidate, Biden has rejected much of the conventional wisdom that drove the first stretch of the Democratic nomination fight, refusing to play to the party's liberal wing. We're over here, Joe. Focus on the wrongs of the past or call for revolutionary transformation. To the surprise of many, he has been rewarded with the lead in the polls that, so far at least, has proven durable and steady. As a result, his candidacy is challenging assumptions about what Democratic voters want in the era of President Trump. At its heart, Biden's campaign is a gamble that his rivals are wrong in seeing the current Democratic Party as liberal, angry, and ready for revolution. A case he made in unusually pointed terms at a rally in Philadelphia on Saturday. Let's not forget, Trump's going to Pennsylvania, but here's what he said. Biden. I know some of you really smart folks say Democrats don't want to hear about unity. They say Democrats are so angry that the angrier a candidate can be, the better chance he or she has to win the Democratic nomination. Well, I don't believe it. Joe ain't angry. I'm a little angry, Don. I'll get over it with your phone calls. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out The Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
Congresswoman Gwen Moore.
You know, I thought it was really important to share with people my diagnosis of cancer. The Affordable Care Act is the kind of thing that's going to keep me alive for a long, long time. Why? Because they can't throw me off of my health insurance simply because I have cancer. The Affordable Care Act, Obamacare provided for that. They can't raise my rates and my premiums so high beyond community rating and beyond age rating. Obamacare created that. They can't cap the amount of benefits that they are willing to give me over a lifetime. I have medicine that costs $18,000 a month. They can't force me to pay out-of-pocket costs beyond a certain point. All of that happened because of Obamacare. Thank you, Obama.
You can listen to the Devil's Advocates interviews at domandcroot.com. Click on the podcast tab and select interviews. That's domandcroot.com.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
5 Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 5nines.com.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Chicago production of the musical Hamilton will close in January after running there for more than 3 years, according to the producers of the show. More people have seen Hamilton in Chicago than in any other city, including New York. The national touring company of Hamilton will be in Milwaukee for 4 weeks, starting in October. And the Bucks lost to the Raptors in double overtime last night. The final score was 118-112. Game 4 of that series is tomorrow night in Toronto. Outside tonight, partly cloudy, lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in Milwaukee with highs in the upper 40s. For Madison, mostly cloudy and breezy with a chance of rain and highs in the mid-50s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
The Devil's Advocates. Never personal, only politics.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, we were talking about Joe Biden. I thought the country was angry. I thought we were mad as hell about Donald Trump.
And we're not going to take it anymore.
But then Joe Biden gets in the race, and suddenly he is the front runner in much of the national polling, in the Real Clear Politics average. In the newest Fox News polling, he's up 18. Now you go state by state. I know Bernie Sanders did well in Emerson polling here in the state of Wisconsin. New polling out of Iowa today shows Bernie's neck and neck with Joe Biden. You know, he's still going to win this nation state by state by state. But ultimately, it looks like Bernie's a front runner. Hell, Donald Trump's ready to stick a stake in Bernie, call him dead. Or at least history, right?
Yeah, but this is the same guy who says he's totally exonerated, no collusion, no obstruction. I mean, so how can he even believe even a political instinct opinion that he offers, let alone any sort of fact?
I'm not clear, Dom.
That's what I'm saying.
You were going to pick up my
Yeah,
friend?
I will jump in here again. The Washington Post, Annie Linsky, Michael Schurer, Democrat, said, we're said to be furious and hungry for change, then Biden jumped in. For Biden's team, the Democrats jockeying for ever more dramatic solutions to the nation's problems are missing the point. They think the Democratic Party is already fundamentally different from the GOP, which shifted rapidly to the right on many issues in recent years, see abortion, and say there's no need to answer with that with a lunge to the left. A January poll by the Pew Research Center found that 58% of Republicans wanted their party to become more conservative. In contrast, 53% of Democrats wanted their party to become more moderate.
But would one assume that 47% of Democrats want their party to be more liberal? Is that a fair assumption? I guess we don't have complete answer.
Or it's perfect just the way it is, right? That would make a difference in the numbers. But I continue. That raises the question of whether the party's center of gravity lies less with the vocal activists than with a quieter group of voters that is less likely to join Twitter or show up at campaign events. His candidacy may be different, says Biden campaign pollster John Anzalone, but it is the one that is working. Biden has the support of 35% of Democratic primary voters, according to a recent Fox News poll, putting him 18% of Bernie Sanders, as mentioned. Many of Biden's rivals have a very different message. Candidates like Senators Elizabeth Warren say Trump's rise is not an aberration, but the culmination of deeper rot in the American political system that requires major surgery. And here's her quote from her campaign announcement. The man in the White House is not the cause of what is broken. He is just the latest and most extreme symptom of what has gone wrong in America, a product of a rigged system that props up rich and powerful and kicks dirt on everyone else. Others have offered similar diagnosis. You don't even get a presidency like this unless something's wrong, South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg said at a recent campaign stop. A promise to return to normal ignores that normal has been working for a lot of people. For Biden, though, the problem is largely Trump himself. The country just needs to get back to basics, he says, arguably an unsurprising view for a man who was at the center of power before Trump was elected. 4 years of this presidency will go down in history as an aberration, Biden has said at multiple fundraisers across the country. Biden's more liberal critics say his current lead in the polls is temporary and doesn't reflect support for his approach, just his name recognition and the association with his former boss. What he's showing is that Barack Obama is popular among the primary electorate, said Waleed Shahid, a spokesman for Justice Democrats, a group that helped elect Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, one of the leaders in the party's liberal wing. Shahid pointed to polls suggesting that Democrats supporting policies like Medicare for All, a health policy that Biden is not backing, along with a Green New Deal, a sweeping climate agenda. Nearly 70% of Democrats and independents say they want a nominee who backs Medicare for All, according to a recent Suffolk USA Today survey. There are a lot of voters who both support those policies and support Joe Biden because they don't know where Joe is on these policies, Shahid said, predicting that when voters learn more about his record, they will drift away from him. Biden's record, his critics say, include positions that hurt Hillary Clinton's presidential bids in 2008 and 2016, including his support for the Iraq War, his perceived coziness with Wall Street, and his support for NAFTA and other multilateral free trade deals. But there's another explanation for Biden's early polling lead in Iowa, New Hampshire, and nationwide. Primary voters are not as focused on litmus tests as the activists are, instead seeking a more centrist candidate who they think can attract independent and Republican voters and beat Trump. In a Suffolk USA Today poll, 48% of Democrats and independents said they wanted a candidate who could win, 10 points more than those preferring a candidate aligned with their priorities. The left makes a lot of noise. They get a lot of press, said Elaine Kamarik, a Democratic National Committee member who is neutral in the Democratic contest. When people vote in primaries and they know the general election is competitive, there is plenty of evidence to show they make sophisticated judgments about who can win. Others argue that Democrats, above all, want a return to the country they knew before it was corrupted, as they see it, by the Trump presidency, and Biden represents that. Joe Biden is not a risky choice, said Patty Solis Doyle, a Democratic strategist who managed Clinton's 2008 campaign. Democrats are not willing to take a risk this time around.
Now, there's more in this piece at the Washington Post, but I see we've got Kathy from Milwaukee calling in, and she is a Biden fan. And I've not heard from a lot of Biden fans, although my wife apparently a little affectionate towards Joe Biden. Let's start with Kathy today. Welcome to the show, Kathy. What do you got for us?
Oh, Prudy, I'm mad at you.
Why are you mad at me?
Hey, stand in line, Kathy.
You're talking about Bernie. And I'll tell you, if after primaries, if he becomes a candidate, then I'll be working there. But right now, to me, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris would make a wonderful ticket. And I hope that that's where people go.
Well, that's easy for you to say. Kamala Harris doesn't want any part of that pairing.
Oh, I know, but it's like, well, do we want to win or don't we? And so I know there are a lot of candidates and people are upset about that, but to me that's like, you'll go through the primaries, some of them will get knocked out or whatever. So to me, I just wish Democrats would finally get the message, stick together, put out a good ticket, and win.
But, Kathy, who says we won't? Yeah. I mean, we got 9 months till the Iowa caucus. We got about a year before this thing all sorts itself out. Now, I know us Dems, we like to fall in love. Right now, I love me 2 candidates, perhaps a little more than the rest. Bernie is my 1 candidate, Elizabeth Warren, my 1A candidate. I'm just a little more liberal than perhaps some in the Democratic, electorate. But, Kathy, ultimately, I got to chase my first love. I may settle for Joe Biden, and, nothing to settle for per se. There are some policy issues I take some issue with. The fact he voted for the Iraq war, I'm going to take some issue with that, Kathy. But we've met Joe Biden. We've been to Joe Biden events. We've live broadcast Joe Biden. Biden came round. Biden helped get Tony Evers elected. We live broadcast Joe Biden. It's not that there's any animus towards Joe, but right now my heart wants what it wants. It feels the burn, Kathy.
Hey, I wanted Hillary. I wanted her in 08. I wanted her in 16. So to me, I understand love, because when we really care about our candidates, I went to Pennsylvania to work for her in 08, and she won that state. So I understand. But even then, when Bernie came in second, he was a poor loser. When she lost to Barack Obama, she, as our leader, said we must support him. She helped us transition. He went home and pouted.
No, that's not true, Kathy. Bernie Sanders came to Wisconsin and did campaign rallies on behalf of Hillary Clinton. Bernie was a surrogate, and when people in the crowd said, we don't want her, we want you, Bernie. Hell, I asked him a question. He got very cantankerous at me, Kathy, and said, back up. I'm here for Hillary Clinton.
Took him too long.
Oh, Kathy,
yeah, but it took him
come on.
It took him too long, Rudy.
I mean, he went on the stump for Hillary before they were done counting the votes in California, Kathy. They're still counting the votes in California, Kathy.
I heard you. Anyhow, I'm sorry. I am a Harris ticket, and I hope that she realizes that it might be a good ticket. In fact, I said that months ago, and now other people are saying it. So I find that moment. Anyway, guys, thank you for taking my call.
All right, thank you,
Kathy. Thanks
Appreciate
for your
it.
listenership.
I love it. Everyone who backs their candidate and loves their candidate, thinks that is, of course, the candidate that can win. But isn't that the point? I mean, just convince the other Dems then. I mean, Biden, how is he going to go against Trump on the policy issue, right? How's he going to compare to Trump on the Iraq war, or when these issues come up with
the only
NAFTA
issue,
or with his perceived coziness with Wall Street?
The only issue I take is this so-called electability, that we've anointed Joe because he's the electable one. I'm not convinced.
Well, he's certainly the less
I'm not
risky
yet convinced.
one, right? He is the former VP.
Yes.
He has been a Democrat for a very long, long time. Bernie
and
Sanders,
it's his
of course,
third presidential run. He
is an independent, so he has he's got the party. He's probably got, and I don't know what Barack Obama is on this whole thing, but presumably he's backing Joe. I don't know that, but I would think that might be the case as well. So he's got, he is the less risky, quote unquote. I get that. Someone like Bernie Sanders is going to be, in some regards, kind of like Trump was, a change agent, I would imagine, for the better. But certainly someone who's going to come in and push back against the machine.
But the right, they win elections, Dom, and they run to the right. And the left, we got to run to the center to win elections? We got to moderate. We got to find our way just right of center so we see moderate in relation to the craziness, the fringe of the right. When do we ever run to the left? When do we ever pull that pendulum back beyond the midpoint? If we keep accepting middle ground and start negotiating from there, we end up with nothing. See Tony Evers' budget right now.
844-967-2789. Toll-free, talk or text. But Crudy, and the other thing also, this combination, making up the dream team, right? Hey, Biden and Kamala Harris, that'd be great. She's still running. I mean, is she pulling double digits in the last poll? I mean, why would she even think about that right now? She could be the president in her own right.
She could beat Joe Biden.
Absolutely. I'd love to see her and Joe on the stage together. We will see them certainly coming up at the debates in Miami, Crudy, and that's going to be huge. I mean, how that thing plays out and how the interaction between these candidates and whether or not they have actually policy positions like Warren, or whether or not they're just playing on the personality as I assume Buttigieg is these days. I think you can't hide under the bright lights then.
Well, I don't know that Pete Buttigieg is hiding. I think he's thoughtful enough, smart enough. I think he's got policy positions.
Really?
I don't think he
Has
wants
he articulated any for you?
I don't think he needs to this early in the race.
Yeah,
I think
that's what he says as well. That's what
that.
people say when they don't have a policy position.
The guy's a Rhodes Scholar. He speaks several languages. You don't think he can come up with a couple policy positions?
Why hasn't he then?
Well, it isn't advantageous from his perspective to do so. What's Joe Biden's policy? I mean, really, Joe Biden, this supposed front runner, where's he at? He's for decriminalization of marijuana?
Is he
Could
even?
You come halfway across the aisle,
not
Joe?
even clear that's the case.
Yeah, that's his newest proposal.
Oh, great.
Half step on marijuana, right?
Oh, hell no. Any of the Dems running, if you're
well,
not
that's
for
his
full,
policy proposal,
then Joe
fella.
ain't getting Dominic's vote, man. You got to be full on legalization. Stop screwing around people and get real with this. These half steps and Crudy, I'm with you there, man. I mean, that does this.
But what about
no good.
Kathy?
Where is that as a bargaining, as a negotiating tactic to come in already halfway? Well, I mean, everyone's got their thing, man. Kathy likes what Kathy likes. She likes herself some Joe Biden. Maybe she's not too hip to the weed. I am. I think it's a terrible situation we have, this continued prohibition in this country, and it's affecting all facets of life, A to Z.
Yeah, but perhaps people just hear the name Joe Biden. He was the vice president. He is associated with Barack Obama. All positives, all win him early polling numbers, all help him gain recognition in the eyes of the electorate. But when it comes time to start espousing policy, I mean, he is quite frankly way to the right. And I'm not saying he's a Republican. Don't mishear me. But he campaigns for Republicans. He's okay with what? Dick Cheney. Any man that can be friends with Dick Cheney, I have a hard time saying could be friends with me. There are just certain despicable human beings in this world. I think Dick Cheney is among them. And I don't care if he's been cordial to you a couple times. I mean, some will say the very same about Ron Johnson and our relationship. How can you be friends with Ron? Well, Ron's been a decent human being to me, and maybe that's all that Joe Biden implies. But Ron never lied us into a war yet.
Not yet.
Give him time, but I mean, Dick Cheney did cross some lines.
That he did, and some of these issues again, when he goes up against these other Democrats, and it's a long way to get to him v. Trump. So he's going to have to get through, obviously, a bunch of progressives that are farther left than he is, and they're going to call him out. Hey, Joe, why are you campaigning for the Republican? Did you get paid? How much did you get paid?
$200,000
$200K, man? I mean, you really, for a Republican, was it worth it? How'd that Republican vote? How's he on the abortion issues? How's a Republican on all those issues that you're going to be against? Why would you do something like he's going to have some splaining to do, and I'm not clear that he has a good enough reason other than the check cleared.
Well, that, I guess, is my point ultimately. When you talk about electability, we want to beat Donald Trump so desperately, as do I. But I'm not sure that Joe Biden is positioned to be that guy. Just name recognition in and of itself will not be enough to beat Donald Trump. Donald Trump's got the bully pulpit. He's got 3 cable news and 3 network news channels at his disposal. Anytime he wants to go to the Oval Office and declare crazy, he can get some press coverage, right? So there is no other, even amongst the 25 Democrats, no one can grab the same sort of attention. So if it's just about name recognition, that ain't going to get it done, Joe. You got to have better policies for the American people, and just kind of saying, yeah, I'm vanilla, I'm not crazy. Well, more appealing, and I will certainly vote for Joe Biden if it's
No
Joe
doubt.
against Donald
Right,
Trump.
fair enough.
Less crazy
Yes.
is certainly better than more crazy, but I wouldn't see that as a candidate
But
who
for
won
real,
my heart.
though, the guy voted for the
Yeah,
last
maybe
war.
good.
He voted for the last war. I mean,
Well,
are
that's
we
why I couldn't
clear-
support Hillary, and
Are we
that's why I
clear
can't
that
support
he's
Joe.
that he's
Right
learned
away.
from that lesson? I mean, what makes you think that he wouldn't do the same thing again? And these are real questions asked, from citizens. If the last war was not necessary, you voted for it. Why'd you do it? And what has changed in you, or in your policy, or your philosophy, or in world security that you would not do that again?
Now, Dom, I know you were watching the Bucks game and Game of Thrones. Did you catch any of the Pete Buttigieg on the Fox Town Hall last night?
No.
Not a big fan of the Tucker Carlson or the Laura Ingrams. Maybe we should talk about that at brief when we come back. Devil's Advocates want to hear from you as well. Your vote matters more than Dominic's. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
We now have a president of the United States who is a racist.
Grow up, Donald. Time to be an adult. You're president.
Rabbit season. Duck season.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest
The Democrats use it. Duck fire!
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella, Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines. Five Nines is more than just our name, it's the level of service you can expect. We provide 99.999% uptime. That's the highest availability performance you can get. You have enough to worry about with your business data, web, security, and cloud services, so we'll manage your IT so you don't have to. Visit 59s.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
Scott Walker tweeting out from a La Quinta in a Rancho del Solio Ronald Reagan fashion shirt.
You know,
only
as a
available
guy
online.
who's wearing a Bernie Sanders shirt, how can you
Mine's
rip on
bootleg.
a guy for wearing a Ronald Reagan shirt?
Buddy, I got a Bernie bootleg on. This is cool on so many levels. You don't even know how cool I
I
am.
do not. If it could just be a little tighter.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube. The Facebook's having some issues apparently, but you can also get us on Twitter and the phones. Talk or text at 844-967-2789. Like our pal Rick. Hey guys, he texts out to us. Try to hold down the circle firing squad, please. Fire! Now, Rick, thank you for participating. Do appreciate it. But listen, I'm just having a conversation, pointing things out. If I cannot be critical of people that I would support over the current president, then how are we going to have a conversation, man? Not everything is roses. And it's not a circular firing squad to point out, hey, maybe these are some strengths, maybe these are some weaknesses. That's not a circular firing squad. That's freaking reality.
Now, Rick, I've been to the shooting range with Dom a handful of times. In that circle might be the safest place for you.
844-967-2789. Crudy, I did not catch the Buttigieg. Did you? And what was your thought?
No, man, I was watching Game of Thrones. I've seen some video after the fact. When you're counter-programming Game of Thrones, I guess you take it. I have now vacillated. I find Buttigieg's acceptance of the invitation got me questioning Elizabeth Warren. She, of course, refused it, said, I'm not going to basically appear on those corporate whore bloodsucker propaganda machines.
I think it was hate for profit racket, quote unquote.
I think I got it right the first time, paraphrasing. At the Washington Post, in Fox News Town Hall, Buttigieg calls out Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham. Now, Dominic, that would have been worth the price of admission right there when the guy goes on another network and calls out the propagandist host of that network on the network. And to end the big event last night, I guess Pete Buttigieg, and I saw this on the video, Dom, got a standing ovation. I think Chris Wallace from the Foxy News was a little taken aback.
That's awesome.
Here's what the article says. We'll start it. In a televised Fox News Channel town hall event Sunday, Democratic presidential candidate Pete Buttigieg defended his decision to appear on the network days after a competitor, Senator Elizabeth Warren, spurned Fox as a hate-for-profit racket. During an hour-long conversation with moderator Chris Wallace, Buttigieg tried to distinguish between Fox News reporters and its opinion hosts. The latter, he said, were not always there in good faith. Specifically, he called out Tucker Carlson for saying that immigrants made the United States dirtier, as well as Laura Ingraham, who once compared detention centers for migrant children to summer camps.
Yeah.
Here's the quote from Buttigieg. There's a reason why anybody has to swallow hard and think twice about participating in this media ecosystem. Still, the mayor of South Bend said he thinks that many people who tune into the network are doing so in good faith, and that he wants to be willing to meet voters wherever they are. Again, a quote. There are a lot of Americans who my party can't blame if they are ignoring our message because they will never hear it if we don't go on Fox and talk about it, Buttigieg said Sunday. Buttigieg also took several opportunities to criticize President Trump, who earlier in the evening had tweeted his displeasure that his preferred news network was wasting airtime on Mayor Pete. When Wallace asked whether Trump should be impeached, Buttigieg said there was no question that Trump's behavior was beyond the pale morally, but said it would be up to the Congress to decide whether the president should be removed from office. Now, Elizabeth Warren wouldn't go on the Fox, but she answered that question straightforwardly, Dom, with the proper and correct answer. Yeah, impeach the MFer. Basically, paraphrasing.
Hell, it's just not these, far lefty Democrats. As a Republican even got on the game, a Republican from Michigan, now also saying the actions of Donald Trump, as described in the Mueller report, impeachable.
Justin Amash, the loneliest Republican in America today. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. I think he's also been exiled over the Northern Wall. We'll be right back. Hour 2 is next.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
New Trump Congress fight, potential for deadly weather. I'm Mike Moss. The White House is exerting immunity in an effort to block former counsel Don McGahn from testifying before the House Judiciary Committee and Chairman Jerry Nadler on the Mueller report. The latest from White House correspondent Pamela Brown.
We expect the committee to actually still hold a hearing even if McGahn doesn't show up. Nadler has said that he would hold a contempt vote for Don McGahn. And then, of course, this could end up in a court fight. I know that the White House is prepared for such a fight. But, of course, part of the calculation, according to a source familiar with the matter, is running out the clock. If this does go to the courts, it could be years before it's resolved.
Correspondent Laura Jarrett says the White House has the full support of the Justice Department.
Because McGahn is being asked to testify about matters having to do with his advice to the president, the Justice Department considers that within the scope of his official duties. So even though he's no longer at the White House, according to the Justice Department, he has absolute immunity from having to discuss anything like that.
Just in, a judge has ruled against the president and his family in their fight to keep his accounting firm from having to reveal his financial information. The next several hours will be very tense for residents of Tornado Alley in Oklahoma and Texas. Meteorologist Patrick Marsh says the threat level is at its highest.
We have a highly volatile setup across the central part of the United States where we're expecting a lot of thunderstorms capable of producing tornadoes. These tornadoes will have the ability to be violent, fast-moving, and there could be quite a few of them.
The storm system is considered to pose a threat to life and property. Prosecutors in California at the rape trial of former NFL star Kellen Winslow Jr. say he was a man with fame and riches and took what he wanted, raping 3 women and exposing himself to 2 others. The Dow down 84. I'm Mike Moss.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
T-Mobile and Sprint seem closer to winning approval to merge, as we hear from correspondent Steve Kastenbaum.
The $26 billion merger won over FCC Chairman Ajit Pai because of a commitment from T-Mobile and Sprint to work on expanding the 5G network across the United States. His approval came after the companies agreed to some concessions. Sprint will sell off prepaid cell company Boost Mobile as part of the agreement. Democrats oppose this merger, though. One FCC member expressed concerns over rising prices for consumers as the number of national cell service companies shrinks from 4 to 3. The merger still needs the approval of the Justice Department's antitrust division, which would be more likely if the entire FCC votes in favor. I'm Steve Kastenbaum.
American Airlines accuses mechanics and their unions of conducting an illegal work slowdown, again, leverage and contract talks. Airline says mechanics have caused about 900 cancellations or long delays. I'm Mike Moss.
Five Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Speaker Voss, I understand you don't have any children. Does that mean he's been possibly practicing
sex with
contraceptives?
What?
Or is he just less than a man? How do you go through the entire life 3 wives later and no chitlins?
Shooting blanks?
Perhaps.
Pull and pray.
Doubtful.
Not getting any.
Unlikely.
Unable to perform.
More likely.
Paying for it.
I hate to judge.
We don't judge here. We're the Devil's Advocate.
Listen to the Devil's Advocates live weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. We are learning more about the firefighter who was shot and killed while on duty in Appleton last Wednesday. Mitchell Lundgaard was a family man, athlete, sports enthusiast, and dedicated public servant, according to a story in the Journal Sentinel. Lundgaard was 36 and a 14-year veteran of the Appleton Fire Department. He was shot when a gun battle erupted as he and other paramedics responded to a medical emergency at the downtown transit center in Appleton. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy with lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in Milwaukee with highs in the upper 40s. For Madison, mostly cloudy and breezy with a chance of rain and highs in the mid-50s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates radio show. Dominic, we got a fine guest joining us in the 5 o'clock hour. Local favorite, national favorite, John Nichols. He's the national affairs correspondent with The Nation, and of course, one of the editors at the Cap Times locally, one of our big guests. I was able to book one big guest today, Dom.
Hey, all right.
Tomorrow on the big show in the 4 o'clock hour, we've got Jim Santel. And also, my understanding, well, I'll hold off until I've got confirmation. Working on something for the happy hour tomorrow as well, Dom. But it's not U.S. Senator Tammy Baldwin. Apparently, she only goes to righty-whitey talk radio these
come
days.
on. When's the last time we asked? I've not called up Baldwin's campaign or her office in quite some time to ask
Why
for an
do I
interview.
have to chase my Democratic senator?
Is
Is
it-
she going on
is
the
it-
other lefty talk radio products
Did
in the
they
state,
call
or just
her
the
and
righty
ask
talk
her?
radio?
I mean, come on, man. Did they call and ask her? Did they set up a...
How many times do I got to ask?
When was the last time you did?
Recently.
All right. Shouldn't have to ask too many times.
No, never. Really shouldn't have to ask at all. They should be calling us. You think that's a crazy concept?
I just think, you know...
You think Scott Walker ever called into right-wing talk radio and said, hey, I got something I want to talk about today? He did it all the time. He built a career on it. I mean, come on, man. Why we got to beg? That is such small ball.
I ain't too proud to beg. Yeah, I'm not begging. Then we just don't talk.
Well,
to
that's
him.
why she's not appearing, because I'm not begging. Not her, not Tony, not any of these damn Dems, man. I am not begging them to come and make use of my radio platforms. I got 3 radio stations. They don't come on any of them.
What'd you do?
Apparently, it's too much truth.
See, they can't handle the truth.
No, apparently they can't. They'd rather lose their budget battles. And I mean, Tammy doesn't have an election for some time. Hell, we won't see her 3-4 years, Dom, at this pace. She doesn't need us till the next elective cycle.
Hell, when she runs for president, maybe she'll come around.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe. Call me, Tammy. 844-967-2789. You know, I called the lieutenant governor today, and I said, hey, it's been over 100 days. When's he coming on? Maybe a couple weeks from now. Maybe. What do you want to talk about?
In a couple weeks? Hell, who knows?
I don't know. Topics change daily around here. We follow the headlines. I guess we better turn to the headlines, Tom.
Real quick, breaking news, perhaps conversation with our pal, Jim Santel, tomorrow, former U.S. attorney. CNN is reporting judge orders Trump accounting firm to hand over records to Congress.
That's going to sting.
Just a little bit.
The accounting firm, those are the ones that, do the taxes, right?
Presumably, they have all sorts of numbers.
And if the court found that way in this case, Tom, how do you think they're going to rule in the Deutsche Bank case?
I think it's all downhill for Trump. It's all a matter of delay. I mean, he's not going to win this thing. It's a matter of how long can he stretch it out.
One more breaking headline at the Washington Post. At least I've got it in my inbox, Tom.
Yeah.
Michael Cohen told lawmakers Donald Trump's attorney, Jay Sekulow, you remember that guy, Sekulow instructed him to falsely claim that Moscow Project ended in January of 2016.
Ooh, he's naming names. That's the first I've
naming
heard.
Names. We should have called Michael in prison and asked him to appear on this fine program, Tom. There's probably a greater likelihood he'd take the call.
Yeah, but only like 10 minutes. You don't get a whole lot of phone time, I don't think. And the rates are outrageous.
Maybe you could call us during yard time.
Gonna drone in a cell phone for him.
844-967-2789. If you've got a clandestine, cell phone in your prison purse, Michael Cohen, give us a call.
A little bit of detail on that headline. Crudy Cohen, president's former longtime personal attorney, told a House panel during closed-door hearings earlier this year that he'd been instructed by Sekulow to falsely claim in a 2017 statement to Congress that negotiations to build a Trump Tower Moscow ended in January 2016, according to people familiar with this testimony. Why is this coming out just now? In fact, Cohen later admitted that discussions on the Moscow Tower continued into June of the presidential election year after it was clear Trump would be the GOP nominee. Cohen serving 3 years in prison for lying to Congress. Now, didn't Giuliani come out and say something like, I don't know, October, November, like past June, indicated it was even farther than
right
that.
up to Election Day.
Oh, wow. All right, so there you go. But what are you going to do? I mean, Jay Sekulow, he's an attorney for the president, and Michael Cohen, he's a convicted felon. I mean, who are you going to believe?
Justin Amash, congressman. I mean, he's a Tea Partier from Michigan, Dom. Did we try to book him today? We should have tried him. Have more luck with Republicans some days. But, Dom, there has been a crack in the armor. One has broken ranks with his president. And otherwise crazy Tea Partier, but Justin Amash, apparently, Dom, in a lengthy Twitter stream calling for President Donald Trump's impeachment. And in fact, we have sound, do we not?
We have a little bit of sound, Justin Amash from the 17th, a couple of days ago, and then perhaps from today. Let's get to it. If you would, Fancy Brian, the Republican from Michigan, cut 86.
Would those allegations be grounds for impeachment?
If the allegations are true, yes.
Have you talked to
But everybody in this country gets a fair trial, including the president or anyone else.
A fair trial for the president. Put him on
give
trial.
him a fair
Let's
trial.
do it. I'm down. We can give him a fair trial. Hell, we can be impeached. He can be tried in the Senate, and with all the other federal investigations going on, he can get a real criminal trial.
Well, Dom, I suspect he'd be tried on television and right here on radio.
Again, the cut number 87, Amash.
If it's Comey's word against the president's word, who do you trust?
I think it's pretty clear I have more confidence in Director Comey. Thanks.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. And apparently that attitude not going well. My understanding, I don't have the reporting in front of me, that Justin Amash has already earned a primary opponent.
Well, Dom, I've got some reporting in front of me. I'd like to share it with the audience. CNN, Chris Eliza, don't fool yourself. No Republicans will line up behind Justin Amash on impeachment. Michigan Republican Rep. Justin Amash's weekend tweeting suggesting that President Donald Trump had committed impeachable conduct drew lots of headlines. The reason, because he was the lone voice in the wilderness, and it's very, very likely to stay that way. The reason is simple. It's bad politics for Republicans to break with Trump, even on an issue as serious as possible obstruction of justice of a probe into Russian interference into the 2016 election. Amash's break with Trump and the president's allies on impeachment isn't totally new ground for the fourth-term congressman who holds a district that Trump won by just 51% in 2016. That'd be, 51-49-ish. In that presidential race, Amash, a self-proclaimed libertarian, endorsed Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky and then Senator Ted Cruz of Texas. Apparently doesn't have good taste on. Amash neither supported nor voted for Trump. His issues with the president are focused on the expansion of executive power and the rising debt. Here's a quote. I view my job as being the representative for everyone in the district, regardless of political party. Well, that didn't play with Republicans, Tom. I will take positions that sometimes the political establishment, my own party, won't like. I will take positions that sometimes the Trump administration won't like. And sometimes I will take positions that the Democrats won't like. My job is to be fair, which feels like the sort of thing we would all want our representatives to say, right?
Right.
Except in this moment in politics among Republicans, disloyalty to Trump is punished. And the jury, judge, and often executioner of your political life is the president himself. Dom, Trump via Twitter, blasted Amash as a total lightweight who opposes me and some of our great Republican ideas and policies just for the sake of getting his name out there through controversy. Like Trump never used that tact. By the close of the weekend, State Rep Jim Lower had announced he was going to challenge Amash in next year's Republican primary. Congressman Justin Amash's tweets yesterday calling for President Trump's impeachment show how out of touch he is with the truth and how out of touch he is with the people he represents. Lower told the Detroit Free Press, he must be replaced, and I'm going to do it. Dom, it remains to be seen how serious Lower's challenge will be. If the past is prologue, Amash has reason to be nervous. In 2017, Arizona Senator Jeff Flake emerged as one of the GOP's leading critics of Trump and his own party's capitulation to the billionaire businessman. Trump went after Flake. Flake's poll numbers cratered. He was forced to retire, while Flake's colleague, Senator Bob Corker, wasn't forced out in quite the same way. There's no doubt that his criticism of Trump and the president's reaction to it hurt his poll numbers as he considered running again in 2018. Of course, Corker retired, and Republican Marsha Blackburn claimed his seat easily. The message here for Republicans, weighing a public break with Trump on impeachment or anything else, is clear. Raise your head up and watch him chop it off. Rest in peace, Masadini. You remember the girl that got chopped off at the head in Game of Thrones, Dom?
Yes, I do vaguely remember that.
And the simple truth, that was like last week.
Yeah,
Game of Thrones.
I got it.
And the simple truth of politics is that most politicians value keeping their jobs and the possibility of higher office in the future over everything else. Standing by your principles sounds good, but when the rubber meets the road and standing by your principles also badly endangers you politically, most politicians swallow those allegedly foundational principles. Now, Saliza writes more. We don't have time right now. We'll take your calls on the other side. 844-967-2789. Let's not hold our breath. I don't think the Republicans have found God or conscience, Tom. But there is one man of character. Of course, his name is not Donald Trump. Come back with us, 844-967-2789.
When Trump gets to the guillotine, you're going to be the first one to go.
Today, I'm going to be a much nicer president.
I am judge, jury, and executioner.
But other than that, I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
If you're like a lot of companies, you know you need IT, but you aren't sure where to start. That's where Five Nines comes in. Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO. For almost 15 years, Five Nines has been providing IT solutions to companies just like yours. We'll show you the solutions that are right for your business and give you the roadmap to success in the future. Find us at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
3, 2, 1. Oh no. Which button am I?
When every second counts, you can't wing it.
Guys, a little help up here?
In a home fire, you may have less than 2 minutes to get out. So make a family home fire escape plan. Then practice home fire drills at least twice a year so everyone knows what to do when they hear. Prepare your family at ready.gov/fire drill. Brought to you by FEMA, the Ad Council, and Make Safe Happen.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk, News Talk, 1510 a.m. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next, it's The Forum with Sherwin Hughes from 9 to noon. Then from noon till 2, the Tom Hartman program. At 2 o'clock, it's the Brian Kelly Show. From 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Then at 6 o'clock, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Maggie Dawn, and Unheard Of with Brandy Grayson. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
The Devil's Advocates, because it's always 420 somewhere.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I know you've got more on Justin Amash, the perhaps lone dissenter amongst the Republican sheeple. But before we forget, again, I want to get out comedian Will Durst, our good buddy from Milwaukee. Going to play a little commentary. Will Durst, he wrote it for us. Do we not have time?
We got time for it. We just got to pull it up because it was on the list but not on the stick. Will Durst, our pal, comedian, Milwaukee's own. Brian's going to pull it up. As soon as we get it up, we will play that. In the meantime, you can call us at 844-967-2789.
Are you ready for us, Fancy?
We're getting there.
Okay, then, Dom, let's carry on. What was this other Justin Amash you wanted to talk about?
It is an article, Aaron Blake at the Washington Post. Of course, you know, what happens now, right? We have the first Republican. This piece entitled, Why Trump Should Be Worried About Justin Amash. When Trump's former lawyer, Michael Cohen, testified before Congress earlier this year, one member on the Republican side of the hearing stood out. While the rest of the Republicans were resolute in their efforts to attack Cohen's credibility, Rep. Justin Amash, a Republican from Michigan, was actually interested in the substance of Cohen's accusations against Trump. You suggested that the president sometimes communicates his wishes indirectly, Amash said, adding, can you explain how he does this? Cohen proceeded to explain that Trump rarely issues direct orders. So when Cohen lied to Congress, for instance, he was simply towing the implied line Trump had set. It was hardly a game-changing moment in the hearing, but it was a clear and arresting departure. A Republican congressman seemed genuinely concerned about the act. Weekend became the first congressional Republican to call for Trump's impeachment, citing the findings of special did what he has been subtly threatening to do. Run for president under the Libertarian Party banner. Maybe now we know what his motivation, Crudy. The Libertarian-leaning Tea Party congressman said in January that the idea was more on my radar now because everyone keeps asking about it. He told the Lions of Liberty podcast, I just think it's important that we offer some alternative. And Amash's motivations would go further than just Trump. He has decried the two-party duopoly in American politics, a pregnant statement from a man who ran for and serves in office as a Republican, and he has criticized his own Tea Party wing of Amash, who helped found the Tea Party-aligned House Freedom Caucus. He goes on to say, the Tea Party is largely gone. It was replaced with nationalism and protectionism and the general philosophy of the party now under Trump. Amash has also departed from his course that Amash would be able to win the presidency, the highest share the Libertarian Party has ever received in a presidential election.
Let me guess, 1.5%.
3% that Gary Johnson got in 2006. Not that compelling a candidate. Amash, by contrast, is widely regarded as a smart and principled lawmaker. It's not difficult to see him doing better than Johnson.
Now, just a little better.
You know, Gary Johnson, nice enough guy.
Nice sneakers he wore.
Yeah, you know, but he's a little out there, but he's down for the whole weed thing as well. But, you know, 3%.
Well, he's a
is
libertarian.
3%.
I hope he's down for legalized weed.
Well,
Maybe
hell,
Joe
man,
Biden's
you can't
not,
assume
but-
anything these days. I mean, legalized weed is on the Democratic Party of Wisconsin's party platforms, and there are actually elected Dems that I spoke to that are not aware of that or not for that. So, you know, just because it's in the party, it's on the platform, doesn't mean that the actual candidates will vote for that or want to strive for that.
Now, do you think a guy like Justin Amash, if he did run as a libertarian, third-party candidate, first and foremost, Tom, I know you have stated your avocation for the third-party candidate in the past, but now is not the time, right, for a third party, unless it's somehow going to undermine Trump's support?
It's everyone's own decision to make. Now is not the time for me. Hell no. Not in this
You wouldn't
circumstance.
vote for a Justin Amash?
No. Nope. I mean, 3%, what if he doubles it to 6%? Nah, that's not going to happen.
6%? Donald Trump's no longer the president, man. I would encourage at least 20% of all Republicans to pull the tab for conscience and vote libertarian.
But you're
if Justin
assuming
Amash runs.
that you're assuming that there's not going to be some pull off from others that might vote for Democrats, Curdy. I mean,
yes, I am making that assumption.
I think
Justin
why would you
Amash
make
is
that?
not going to steal Bernie supporters. He might steal a few away from Biden, just to the left of Biden, but otherwise.
So wait a minute, man. I voted for Gary Johnson at a time in my life, and I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primary. You're going to tell me that there aren't other people like me out there, other people that may not be into what Biden is doing, if Biden's the guy, and they'll do a principled vote for a guy like Amash on the Libertarian Party? Sure, they're out there.
I'm okay if you vote for Amash in the Libertarian Party, if that is what's in your heart. You think he best represents the American people.
But they'll
do
take
your
Dems
damnedest.
as well. I'm just telling you, man.
Well, you're not going to steal most of that support from any Democratic candidate, Dom. I take my chances. If you're stealing support, you're stealing it from Trump. You're giving the few remaining Republicans with conscience, and I know there are some, and I have good friends that are Republicans that are also outraged by this president. But they're not going to vote for Uncle Joe. Many of them are not. They're going to pull the ticket, pull the lever, unless you give them some conscientious point of objection, and maybe Justin Amash can be that guy. Go do the Amash pit, Dom.
Nice.
Come back with us. 844-967-2789. More of your calls next.
If politics is boring, you're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com.
Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council. To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters, and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys, because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday. Closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
5 Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. On Friday, Senator Tammy Baldwin announced new bipartisan legislation to support job creation for the nation's veterans. She and Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina are reintroducing the BRAVE Act, or Boosting Rates of American Veterans Employment Act. The legislation creates incentives for businesses to hire veterans. The act is supported by the Veterans of Foreign War and the Wisconsin Veterans Chamber of Commerce. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy with lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in Milwaukee with highs in the upper 40s. For Madison, mostly cloudy and breezy with a chance of rain and highs in the mid-50s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
The Devil's Advocates may not agree on much, but funny is funny.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. The toll-free line, it's wide open. It's always wide open. It doesn't ever close. It's not like a toll booth. 844-967-2789. Coming back with your calls. Kurt from Madison, you're next, sir. Welcome.
Hi, guys.
Hey, Kurt.
Say, first I want to say, for Buttigieg to do that, to walk into the Lions Den and just take them on, stare them in the face, I tip my hat to him.
Yeah.
The only people that should be afraid of going on Fox are people that have skeletons in their closet where they know they can get pounced on. And they don't deserve to be there, period. Now, as far as Uncle Joe is concerned, I would say, he's a nice guy. It'd be fun to have as an uncle, next-door neighbor, but he is part of a generation that just doesn't get it anymore. He is stuck in the past. He's clinging on to old traditional Democratic values, and he's just out of touch. And in place in point, and Dom's gonna like this one, is his attitude towards marijuana. It's like if you can't get your head around that one, I can't trust you to get your head around other problems, because that's the easiest problem to get around. So I wish he would get the hell out, because he's gonna cause more problems for the Democrats than any other candidate in the lineup, and I'll put money on that.
Now, Kurt, who do you like?
Oh boy, it's kind of like a.
Come on, man! You can't just bash and not say you like one of them. Oh, let me tell you who's awful. That guy.
I mean, Kamala would be a pick. Buttigieg would be a pick. Bernie would be a pick. But I like Bernie, not as much as you do, but he comes with some things that worry me, that the crazy Don, I just think it's too much risk. Where as someone younger, especially female, puts us in a much better position to take the presidency.
Okay, so younger female, I mean, you're talking Klobuchar, Kirsten Gillibrand, Kamala Harris. Am I forgetting anyone? Elizabeth Warren, certainly.
comment about insurance and paying for school. And she blew that one up real fast right out of the box. But those would be my 3 picks. Buttigieg, Kamala Harris, and Warren. Those would be my 3.
Oh, man, you had Bernie in the top 3 last time, Kurt.
And Bernie, okay. I had Bernie.
Top
and
4.
Bernie
Hey, who's your top 10?
You can have 3A and 3B, Kurt. Bernie and Elizabeth Warren, and unfortunately, and Kurt, appreciate the. Hey, real quick, Kurt, you listening to the Talk 92.7 FM signal?
I am, and it's nice, and I drive around a bit, so there's just a few little holes here and there, but nothing to complain about.
We got a few freckles, but we still can turn this thing up another 100%. Where we're at right now, we got 100% more power coming. Apparently just not this week, the tower guys tell me. But, Kurt, we'll
job,
juice
guys.
it up a little more when
Thanks,
they
Kurt.
let us.
844-967-2789 if you want to join this conversation.
You know, we've all got freckles, Dom.
Yeah, freckles on your ass, Curdy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, just imperfections. We've all got some blemish about us.
Freckles are not imperfections. What are you talking about, imperfections? What's perfect? Besides me.
Oh, that must be it.
Our pal Will Durst, that's who. We got some Will. We're ready for some Will Durst. Will Durst, comedian from Milwaukee, our friend, doing some commentary on the radio for us. If you would, please, Fancy Brian.
Hey, guys. Will Durst here with a few choice words about internet privacy, which is one of those oxymoron things we hear so much about. You know, like vegetarian butcher or gluten-free dim sum or Donald Trump's modern guide to etiquette and manners. The situation has gotten so bad, the co-founder of Facebook, a guy named Chris Hughes, called for the company to be broken up. But Mark Zuckerberg says, hey, no need for that. He's learned his lesson and promises to be a good boy from now on.
Yeah.
And we could trust him, right? Because he's only lied about every privacy issue that's ever come up so far, ever. Remember when Facebook manipulated posts to gauge our emotional response and then sold the research data? All we are to them is lab rats. But even lab rats occasionally get some cheese, right? Hey, Zuck, keep your cookies. Give us some cheese. The standard defense is we knew this was going on when we signed up, but you've seen those user agreements. Nobody reads them. I don't even think the guys who write them read them. They're longer than the migratory path of a monarch butterfly and use a font so tiny it would make a flea squint. So what do? Scroll to the bottom and click accept. Then, 2 weeks later, you wake up in a bathtub full of ice with a scar where one of your kidneys used to be. And the internet never forgets. You've seen it happen. Check out the price of a piece of hardware, but decide you don't need it. Doesn't matter, because boom, there it is. On every website you visit for 6 months. Follows you around like a haunted fungus. For no apparent reason, suddenly everybody is having a sale on a festive array of red, white, and blue plastic bowl semen inseminators. Don't ask. For WRRD 1510 AM Wisconsin's Resistance Radio, I'm Will Durst.
Our buddy Will Durst makes an interesting point. You were raising the point to me, our Facebook page. You know, we got the one privacy backdoor, but now they want us to put, a second lock on the back door?
Yes. I don't know. I have to go through another privacy issue thing with them. Like double security.
Does that mean we're on double secret probation all term
No,
down?
man, we haven't been put in Facebook jail ever. We're just too nice, I guess.
It's not like we haven't tried. You can
Then,
always
as
join
of this
us.
moment, they're on double secret probation.
No, Facebook say it ain't so.
You know, we get lots and lots of Facebook messages. I try to read most, if not all of them, Dom. I know you make very little effort to read any of them. I can
Come
tell.
on, I get back to some of them.
Couple likes here and there. That's all you do. Oh, I'll give them a like.
They know we're here. 844-967-2789.
That's where we prefer to commiserate with our audiences on the phones during the live portion of the program, Dom. Wanted to turn back to the headlines. This one breaking at this hour, legal issues at the Washington Post. U.S. judge denies Trump's bid to quash House subpoena for years of financial records. I'll remind all our fair audience, we'll have a legal eagle. We'll have former U.S. Attorney Jim Santel. He'll help us put some of the pieces together, connect the dots, if you will, Dom. But let's jump in. Spencer Zhu at the Washington Post. A federal judge on Monday denied President Trump's bid to quash a House subpoena for years of his financial records from his accounting firm and stayed his order 7 days to allow the president's lawyers time to appeal. There should be no appeal. He had his due process. I read on from the article. The ruling handed an initial defeat to Trump's vow to defy subpoenas by House Democrats and came in one of the first courtroom challenges to a series of lawmakers' investigative demands for his bank records, accounting statements, and tax returns. U.S. District Judge Ahmet Mehta of Washington, D.C. refused to block the records request to Mazars USA from the House Oversight and Reform Committee while litigation continues. Attorneys for Trump and associated businesses filed suit April 22nd, arguing Congress is not entitled to investigate his past personal financial dealings for potential corruption. How about his current corruption? I read a quote, Dom. So long as Congress investigates on a subject matter on which legislation could be had, Congress acts as contemplated by Article 1 of the Constitution, Mehta said in his 41-page opinion. Mehta ruled the committee's claims that Trump's records will help it consider strengthening ethics and disclosures laws and enforce a constitutional ban on acceptance of foreign gifts by a president were facially valid, saying it is not for the court to question whether the committee's actions are truly motivated by political considerations. And Dom in court, Douglas Innetter, general counsel for the House of Representatives, has charged that the lawsuit would dismiss Congress's constitutional oversight powers as a nuisance getting in Trump's way while he's trying to run the country. Meanwhile, Trump's private attorney, Jay Sekulow, the one that in the Washington Post article quoted earlier, apparently directed Michael Cohen to lie to Congress. That Jay Sekulow, I read on, said when the lawsuit was filed, the president's team will not allow congressional presidential harassment to go unanswered.
Crudy, an appeal would test decades of legal precedent that have upheld Congress's right to investigate, arguing the novel theory that a president's past dealings are irrelevant to the legislative branch's fundamental job of writing bills. The legal battle comes as House Democrats seek to probe Trump's finances, his campaign, and allegations he sought to obstruct justice in special counsel Robert Mueller's Russia investigation. Trump, his three eldest children, and companies raised similar arguments in a bid to block a subpoena by the House Financial Services Committee for Trump's bank records issued to Deutsche Bank AG and Capital One Financial Corporation, which a federal judge in Manhattan will hear on Wednesday. The White House is also resisting House demands for former White House counsel Donald McGahn's records and testimony pertaining to federal investigations of Trump, as well as testimony by Mueller himself over his recently concluded report of Russian interference in the 2016 U.S. elections. Democrats have called the lawsuits long-shot bids to delay the unearthing of politically damaging information about Trump until after the 2020 election and to obscure from public ongoing conflicts of interest by officials charged with executing the nation's laws. Trump's attorneys fire back that Democrats' true purpose is not governance but political advantage to expose the Trump's private financial information for the sake of exposure with the hope that it will turn up something that Democrats can use as a political tool against the president.
I'm pretty sure there's something in there, Dom. I don't know, but I suspect there's something in there the Democrats would indeed use against the president.
In the Mazars case, Mehta cut down Trump's lawyers' arguments that the Oversight Committee's inquiry into whether Trump misled his lenders by inflating his net worth violated the Constitution's separation of powers by having Congress assume the Justice Department's powers to investigate dubious and partisan allegations of private conduct.
Now, Dom, this is a developing story. We'll update it, as will the Washington Post, as facts merit. But Dom, there was a intriguing story over the weekend. New York Times, I believe, reported some red flags over at Deutsche Bank.
No, really?
Some money laundering apparently suspected by Donald Trump and, the son-in-law, Jared Kushner, in 2016, right in the heart of the presidential campaign, Deutsche Bank's got software triggering red flags, wondering if these dollars flowing back and forth with the Russians, I understand, Dom, whether or not that could constitute money laundering.
From through a bank that paid hundreds of millions of dollars in fines for money laundering.
Well, Dom, apparently the higher-ups over at Deutsche Bank just decided, well, these are a couple of really good clients. We don't want to step on toes. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. Never mind stepping on toes.
Never.
I used to have more friends. Some of them now have flat toes. Come back with us. We name names when possible. 844-967-2789. Your calls always welcome here.
I'm not an expert on the facts yet. I'm getting there.
I'm a very honest person, frankly.
Over time, facts develop. That's what investigations do.
I always want to tell the truth. When I can, I tell the truth.
I had bad information at that time. I made a mistake in my statement.
If I were to guess, I have one name in mind.
It can only be Jared.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org, p4ppc.org.
You concerned about speaking up at work? Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
5 Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
When you shop Goodwill, you don't just bring home a vintage dress or cat lamp. You bring home so much good to your community because everything you buy funds local job training and more. Goodwill, bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates.
We've got U.S. Senator Ron Johnson, our friend, live via phone. Ron, in all seriousness, if this was Barack Obama, you'd be screaming, "Stormy, stormy, stormy," from the rooftops.
You're too young to understand this excuse. This would be the Sergeant Schultz answer. I know nothing.
But as the chair of the HISCAC, Sir, Homeland Security Governmental Affairs Committee, you could get to the bottom of this, could you not, Ron?
I see nothing. I know nothing.
Making radio great again.
Maybe we could launder the money.
That's a great idea. Okay, how do we do that?
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Phone lines open 844-967-2789. That's 844-96-PARTY.
Now, Dominic, the Deutsche Bank story at the New York Times. I'll read the headline, but why don't you get us started? Deutsche Bank staff saw suspicious activity in Trump and Kushner accounts. You don't say. David Enrich at the New York Times, the failing New York Times, Dom.
Crudy anti-money laundering specialist at Deutsche Bank recommended in 2016 and 17 that multiple transactions involving legal entities controlled by Donald J. Trump and his son-in-law Jared Kushner be reported to a federal financial crimes watchdog.
Now, Dom, I had seen 2016 prior. That would be during the campaign, but in 2017... Trump was the president.
Crudy, the transactions, some of which involved Mr. Trump's now defunct foundation, set off alerts in a computer system designed to detect illicit activity, according to 5 current and former bank employees. Compliance staff members who then reviewed the transactions prepared so-called suspicious activity reports that they believe should be sent to a unit of the Treasury Department that police's financial crimes. But executives at Deutsche Bank, which has lent billions of dollars to Trump and Kushner companies, rejected their employees' advice. The reports were never filed with the government. The nature of the transactions was not clear. At least some of them involved money flowing back and forth with overseas entities or individuals, which bank employees considered suspicious. Now, real estate developers like Trump and Kushner sometimes do large all-cash deals, including with people outside the United States, any of which can prompt anti-money laundering reviews. The red flags raised by employees do not necessarily mean the transactions were improper. Banks sometimes opt not to file suspicious activity reports if they conclude their employees' concerns are unwarranted. But former Deutsche Bank employees said the decision not to report the Trump and Kushner transactions reflected the bank's generally lax approach to money laundering laws. The employees, most of whom spoke on the condition of anonymity to preserve their ability to work in the industry, said it was part of a pattern of the bank's executives rejecting valid reports to protect relationships with lucrative clients.
Well, those are the best kind of clients, Don.
Aren't they, though? You present them with everything, and you give them a recommendation, and nothing happens, said Tammy McFadden, former Deutsche Bank anti-money laundering specialist who reviewed some of the transactions. It's the DB way. They are prone to discounting everything. McFadden said she was terminated last year after she raised concerns about the bank's practices. Since then, she's filed complaints with the SEC and other regulators about the bank's anti-money laundering enforcement. Carrie McHugh, a Deutsche Bank spokeswoman, said the company had intensified its efforts to combat financial crime. An effective anti-money laundering program, she said, requires sophisticated transaction screening technology as well as a trained group of individuals who can analyze the alerts generated by that technology both thoroughly and efficiently. At no time was an investigator prevented from escalating activity identified as potentially suspicious, she added. Furthermore, the suggestion that anyone was reassigned or fired in an effort to quash concerns related to any client is categorically false.
Dominic, Amanda Miller, a spokeswoman for the Trump Organization, the umbrella company for the Trump family's many business interests, said, "We have no knowledge of any flag transactions with Deutsche Bank." She said the Trump Organization currently has no operating accounts with Deutsche Bank. However, she did not respond when asked if other Trump entities had accounts. I suspect they do, Dom. And Karen Zabratsky, a spokeswoman for Kushner Companies, said any allegations regarding Deutsche Bank's relationship with Kushner Companies, which involved money laundering, is completely made up and totally false. The New York Times continues to create dots that just don't connect. Deutsche Bank's decision to not report the transactions is the latest twist in Mr. Trump's long, complicated relationship with the German bank, the only mainstream financial institution consistently willing to do business with the real estate developer.
Con man.
Congressional and state authorities are investigating that relationship and have demanded the bank's records related to the president, his family, and their companies. Subpoenas from two House committees seek, among other things, documents related to any suspicious activities detected in Mr. Trump's personal and business bank accounts since 2010, according to a copy of the subpoena included in the federal court filing. Mr. Trump and his family sued Deutsche Bank in April, seeking to block it from complying with congressional subpoenas. The president's lawyers described these subpoenas as politically motivated. Aren't they always, Dom?
Always.
Suspicious activity reports are at the heart of the federal government's efforts to identify criminal activity like money laundering and sanctions violations. But government regulations give banks leeway in selecting which transactions to report to the Treasury Department's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. Now, Dom, lenders typically use a layered approach to detect improper activity. The first step is filtering thousands of transactions using computer programs, which sends the ones considered potentially suspicious to mid-level employees for a detailed review. Those employees can decide whether to draft a suspicious activities report, but a final ruling on whether to submit it to the Treasury Department is often made by senior managers. Well, in the summer of 2016, Deutsche Bank software flagged a series of transactions, including the real estate company of Mr. Kushner, now a senior White House advisor. And Ms. McFadden, a longtime anti-money laundering specialist in Deutsche Bank's Jacksonville office, said she had reviewed the transactions and found the money had moved from Kushner companies to Russian individuals. She concluded that the transaction should be reported to the government, in part because federal regulators had ordered Deutsche Bank, which had been caught laundering billions of dollars for Russians, to toughen its scrutiny of potentially illegal transactions. Well, Dom, you don't want to scrutinize something if you might find something wrong. I read on briefly. Ms. McFadden drafted a suspicious activity report and compiled a small bundle of documents to back up her decision. Typically, such a report would be reviewed by a team of anti-money laundering experts who are independent of the business line in which the transactions originated. In this case, the private banking division, according to Ms. McFadden and two former Deutsche Bank managers. That did not happen with this report. It went to managers in New York who were part of the private bank, which caters to the ultra-wealthy. They felt Ms. McFadden's concerns were unfounded and opted not to submit the report to the government, the employees said. Ms. McFadden and some of her colleagues said they believed the report had been killed to maintain the private banking division's strong relationship with Mr. Kushner. What, then a senior White House advisor, Dom? After Mr. Trump became president, transactions involving him and his companies were reviewed by an anti-financial crime team at the bank called the Special Investigations Unit. You know, SIU, Dom.
Is there a TV show?
That team, based in Jacksonville, produced multiple suspicious activity reports involving different entities that Mr. Trump owned or controlled, according to 3 former Deutsche Bank employees who saw the reports in an internal computer system. Some of those reports involved Mr. Trump's limited liability companies. At least one was related to transactions involving the Donald J. Trump Foundation. Two employees said. Well, Dom, you know, what's a couple $1 billion in money laundering between a German bank and the president of the United States? Well, he is the president.
Crudy from CNN back in January 31st of 2017. They report that Deutsche Bank paid $630 million in penalties over the $10 billion Russian money laundering scheme that involved its Moscow, New York, and London branches.
Well, no wonder why they didn't want additional scrutiny. Come back with us. The happy hour, it commences now with John Nichols, national affairs correspondent from The Nation. He's a friend of ours. John Nichols and the Devils. That sounds like a winning combination.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
I never went bankrupt, by the way, as you know, everybody knows.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Hi, we're the Goo Goo Dolls. We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow and learn. But that isn't the case for nearly 13 million kids in the U.S. that struggle with hunger.
Childhood hunger is a heartbreaking reality that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and provides it to families and children in need.
You can help kids in need in your community by visiting feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
Federal ruling, migrant death. I'm Ann Cates. A federal judge has ruled against President Trump's efforts to block a House subpoena of his financial records and has ordered an accounting firm to turn them over. Correspondent Manu Raju.
This comes at a significant moment because of the number of requests that the White House and the Trump organization are rejecting on all fronts as Democrats try to pursue investigations. On this particular one involving Mazars, that came in the aftermath of Michael Cohen's testimony before the House Oversight Committee when he alleged the president, before he was president, inflated his wealth improperly as he tried to purchase the Buffalo Bills football team. Now the Democrats presumably will get answers to those questions.
A 16-year-old Guatemalan boy has died today while in federal government custody. Correspondent Diane Gallagher.
Customs and Border Protection says that the teenager was found unresponsive during a welfare check this morning at that Velasco station. We know that he was processed and apprehended in the Hidalgo area on May 13th. So he'd been in the U.S. for about 9 days.
For the first time in 2 years, forecasters have issued their most dire warning for the risk of catastrophic tornadoes today in parts of the Texas Panhandle and Oklahoma.
More than 2 million people in the storm's path. Meteorologist Patrick Marsh says the setup is more unique than a typical May day in Tornado Alley.
Today we're going to see multiple rounds of storms, and each one of these rounds of storms are going to be capable of producing thunderstorms with tornadoes.
The risk so high schools are closed in some parts of Oklahoma. Officials urging residents to be weather aware and to not let their guards down. The threat comes on the 6th anniversary of a tornado that pulverized the city of Moore, Oklahoma, killing 24 people. Clayton Neville, Dallas.
Losses today on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 84 points. The S&P 500 down 19. The Nasdaq off 114. I'm Ann Cates.
Five9, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy five9s.com.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk, News Talk, 1510 a.m. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next, it's The Forum with Sherwin Hughes from 9 to noon. Then from noon till 2, the Tom Hartman program. At 2 o'clock, it's the Brian Kelly Show. From 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Then at 6 o'clock, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Maggie Dawn, and Unheard Of with Brandy Grayson. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
The trade dispute with China may have reached all the way to Game of Thrones territory.
A media transmission problem, that's what Chinese internet juggernaut Tencent is saying about why it's delaying access to the series finale of Game of Thrones. The company owns the streaming rights to the series in China, but HBO says it has had no issue with content delivery, adding further clarification would have to come from Tencent. That's led to speculation that it's being caused by the escalating trade dispute between the U.S. and China. The dispute is leading to an apparent rise in anti-U.S. propaganda in Chinese state media, and the government recently canceled a new Chinese TV drama series largely shot in the U.S. with American cast members. I'm Joe Ramsey.
American whiskey producers feeling the pain from the Trump administration's trade battles have gotten a shot of relief. An agreement has been reached to end retaliatory tariffs Canada and Mexico slapped on whiskey and other U.S. products, but U.S. whiskey makers still face significant trade hurdles in the European Union. I'm Ann Cates.
Does your dog... Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your basement. There's a pair of overalls that overall you're not so into anymore. A perfectly good laptop that hasn't sat in your lap in months. And even more stuff, but still no jobs? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed, and they're the stuff inside your stuff. Even inside that winter coat that moved with you to Phoenix. Our job is to unlock those jobs, and it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. A message from Goodwill and the Ad Council.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. The Bucks lost to the Raptors in double overtime last night. The final score was 118-112. Game 4 of that series is tomorrow night in Toronto. And the Brewers beat the Braves in 10 innings yesterday, 3-2. They're off today, then play a quick 2-game series with the Reds starting tomorrow night at Miller Park. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy, lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in Milwaukee with highs in the upper 40s. For Madison, mostly cloudy and breezy with a chance of rain, highs in the mid-50s. For Wednesday, partly sunny with highs in the mid-60s in Milwaukee, upper 70s in Madison. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves' corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour, and I'm happy to announce we got a fine guest live via phone. He's our friend John Nichols, National Affairs Correspondent with The Nation. John, welcome back to the Devil's Advocates.
Pleasure to be with you, brother.
Thank you, John.
And brothers, both of you. My goodness,
yeah, man.
I don't want to slight anyone there.
Well, no one feels terribly excluded, John. You wrote an article today you published at The Nation about Justin Amash, this Republican congressman who apparently has drawn the scorn of the party. But here were his 4 basic conclusions, according to your reporting. Attorney General Barr has deliberately misrepresented Mueller's report. Number 2, President Trump has engaged in impeachable conduct. Number 3, partisanship has eroded our system of checks and balances. And number 4, few members of Congress have read the report. I have no doubt about the last one, John. What about the impeachable conduct? This was a stunner coming from a Republican.
Yeah, I mean, it's significant. One thing to understand is that Justin Amash does stand out. He is a very distinctive member of the House in that he's a Republican, but leans more toward the libertarian side than most. A little bit like Rand Paul in the Senate, but even more principled, or I should say maybe a lot more principled. So if there was one person who might have been the outlier, the objector, it was going to be Justin Amash, and he has done so. Now, there are some folks who will thus dismiss it, and they'll say, "Oh well, you know, he's the far outside the norm guy, and you know, no need to pay any attention to this." That's certainly what Donald Trump would like you to think, and what some of Trump's allies would like you to think. But this is a big deal, and what Amash did was very significant. He didn't try to grab headlines. He didn't make some statement the day after the report came out, or at some early stage in things. Spent a lot of time reading it. He reviewed the testimony to committees. He talked to a lot of people. He sat down with his staff, and they basically, had discussion groups about it, and came to these conclusions. I think they're very sound conclusions, quite reasonable in his take on this. But B, it's important to put it in perspective. If you go back to the Watergate era, through most of Watergate, even to the bitter end, the majority of Republicans stuck with Richard Nixon. That's an important thing to understand. Even on the House Judiciary Committee, where such a big deal is made about bipartisanship, none of the articles of impeachment that the House Judiciary Committee approved against Nixon won majority Republican support. In fact, one of them, I think, just had 2 Republicans on board. So the fact that one Republican has stepped up is highly significant. And if 1 or 2 more do, as is not beyond the realm of reason, if 1 or 2 more do, this is a big deal. This is getting us into that zone where we begin to talk about bipartisan support for impeachment.
Well, John, that seems like a noble thought. I'm not as convinced that there will be any other Republicans that break away. I mean, my understanding about 90% support for this president amongst Republicans. But, John, I got to ask you, do you think this is self-serving at all on Amash's behalf? Rumor has it he might run for president as a libertarian.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of people who've suggested that this is self-serving. If he wanted to kind of start to set himself up as a potential candidate for president, either in a Republican primary or in a libertarian zone, frankly, I think he would have been making a lot more noise a lot sooner. Amash is not a run to the headlines, run to the cameras kind of guy. You don't see him very often on cable TV. Even now, over the weekend, one would have expected after letting these tweets go on Saturday that he would have been, the lead person on Meet the Press or, any of the weekend shows. He wasn't. And even now, he hasn't done a lot of media off it. So I would not call it self-serving. I think it doesn't fit the model of such a thing. That does not rule out the possibility that he might well decide to run as a libertarian candidate for president. That would not surprise me. Remember that former Congressman Rand Paul's dad, ran as the libertarian candidate for president, I believe, in 1988. So there are these cases where Republican members of the House do step out of the party and make these runs. But I don't see coming out for impeachment in this context as necessarily, the signal that he's mounting a presidential bid.
Folks, you are listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. That is John Nichols. He's a friend of ours and the national affairs correspondent with The Nation. He wrote a piece in there today. Republican Congressman Justin Amash breaks party ranks to call Trump's conduct impeachable. John, how do you think this plays out? I mean, certainly the first Republican to come out, whether or not he has other political ambition. I mean, hell, they're all politics. I mean, politicians. Who doesn't among them? But apparently he's already got a primary, a person announced to primary him. You see this as a warning shot to keep all the Republicans in line by this administration and the GOP in general?
Oh, yeah. I think, look, when the president of the United States calls you a loser, that's right off the bat, you're getting a signal that they may not be very, very happy with you. And it's not surprising at all that there's a primary challenge. To be honest, I would have expected Amash to take a primary challenge anyway, even if he hadn't mentioned the word impeachment, because he has broken with this administration on a number of issues. When the president was staking up this emergency down at the border, the whole wall thing, Amash has been one of the more outspoken and principled critics of that. He's not alone, by the way. There are other Republicans who've objected, but he certainly stood out there. And there's other issues. So he's not tried to be buddies with the White House. And again, the president is referring to him as a loser and all sorts of other unfriendly terms. So
John,
that's pretty much an invite to do a primary run for somebody.
John, do you think that Justin Amash committed political suicide of sorts? I mean, just look at the example of Senator Jeff Flake from Arizona. Flake gave some timid pushback on the president, and Trump buried him in Twitter, and eventually he just went away, John. He just retired. Bob Corker followed a similar path. Do you think ultimately this is the beginning of the end of Justin Amash, at least as a politician?
No, I don't. Look, my sense is that the Trump era is real, and certainly the way that Trump has tried to take over the Republican Party is a serious shift, right? This party has abandoned many of its basic premises in order to make itself a party of Trump. But the Trump era will end. And if Amash decides to try and stay in the House and survives the primary challenge, which is not beyond the realm of reason, he's pretty popular in his district, or at least most evidence is that he's pretty popular there, then then he comes out as a maverick. And we have mavericks in both parties in the House, people who are often at odds with their leadership, but have enough of a base at home. So no, I don't rule that out. Either if Amash stays and tries to keep his House seat, if he wins his primary next year, he's solid. And there's a lot of history of that. And if he decides to run as a libertarian candidate for president, he could be a very big deal, because a member of Congress running as a third-party presidential contender is always going to get attention and potentially be a significant factor. The presidential race is close. President Trump may not be impeached, but Justin Amash might still be the guy who took him down by simply drawing away enough votes to cause him a problem.
John, what encourages me is the fact that, again, regardless of other political motivation, that he stands up, explaining his principled stance against this president over party, and that gives me a good feeling. I'm not clear I would agree with him on, what the tax rate should be or the role of big versus small government, but at least on the corruption end of it, he seems to be in line with my thoughts in looking at the information we have from the Mueller report and knowing how people are. But John, you in your piece in The Nation, you bring up the history of the Republican Party and go into a couple of paragraphs about how they started and where they are now. I want to get your feeling. How far away from their original beginnings and the philosophy and the principles that historically we give to the Republican Party when they were established 160 some years ago, where do you think they're at right now, and how does a guy like Amash and his principled stand fit in that picture?
It's a very good question. Look, and it really takes you in two different directions. Number one, the Republican Party today is almost openly at war with its founding premises. The Republican Party, remember, was started as a party that objected to the racism and the pro-slavery sentiments of many Democrats at that time. And so, just by the nature of it, the early Republican Party was quite a radical operation. It wasn't just in its opposition to slavery. It was also very much associated with a lot of so-called free soil sentiment, i.e. land reform. They wanted to take land and give it to the poor. And so the initial Republicans are very different than what we've got today. And that's one thing to understand. In fact, they're very, very different than what they were even in the 1960s. If you look at where Dwight Eisenhower stood in the 50s, for instance, it was radically different from what you've got today. So put that in one box. Now let's look at Justin Amash. I think it's not correct to say that Justin Amash is some sort of throwback to the founding premises of the Republican Party. Many of his libertarian stances don't fit with what the initial Republicans, who were frankly big guys on infrastructure 170 years ago, they wanted to build railroads and things like that. A libertarian doesn't necessarily fit with that. But the one place where Amash does intersect with them is at sort of a core value of the historic Republican Party, and that was a real faith in one of the promises of the Constitution. And that promise was that we were equal under law, right? It wasn't just on the issues of human bondage, on slavery, where some of the initial Republicans were actually, saying, look, this is antithetical to the notion that all men are created equal, all women are created equal. And so they started there, but they really did, in those, especially those initial days, believe that an assertion of the sort of best premises of the American founding, this idea of protection under law, and this idea that you didn't compromise on those premises, those basic values, that was a Republican premise. And I think that Amash, in challenging a sitting Republican president who is profoundly at odds with the Constitution and the rule of law, you can find a little echo there, not an inappropriate one.
Well, John, I know the Republican Party founded in Wisconsin, but I'd hardly call them the party of Lincoln any longer. Let's talk about
I don't think so.
John, let's talk about the cowardly Wisconsin Republicans and their actions to remove Medicaid, medicinal marijuana, minimum wage, and anything else the people may advocate for. And they're calling this some sort of political courage, John, because they're leading by going against the will of the people.
Yeah, I know. It's very courageous, right? And they're able to practice their quote unquote courage by having gerrymandered legislative districts in a way that even when they lose the popular vote overall, they could still maintain control of the legislature. I wouldn't call that courage. If they were really courageous, they would immediately accept a redraw of legislative districts that made them all competitive, and then take not accepting the Medicaid money and saying we don't have enough money to expand public education, not fixing the roads. You kind of run down the list of it.
Right.
I mean, they would make Scott Walker's finish in 2018 look like a glorious triumph. They'd be voted out of office statewide. So they're not courageous at all. They wrote, designed, drew their own maps. They know they are secure in these districts, which are by their nature anti-small d democratic, and that's their courage. Ask Robin Voss. If Robin Voss is really courageous, why doesn't he move to Dane County?
Right.
Come to my neck of the woods, Robin Voss. Well, John Nichols, we're always happy when you join us on the airwaves. John Nichols, national affairs correspondent at The Nation. More importantly, he's a friend of ours, and we welcomed him for the very first time on Talk 92.7 FM. Hopefully, first of many, many times. John, thanks again.
Thank you, John.
Pleasure to be with you both. Take good care, brother.
Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. It is the happy hour with you on the phones at 844-967-2789.
There's a special place in hell for Republicans who should know better.
I would really question somebody's judgment if they couldn't figure this out.
If you put your mind to it, you can accomplish anything.
Wisconsin, home to the world's best cheese, best beer, and best football fans in America. But unfortunately, Wisconsin is also home to something else. Tens of thousands of citizens who just can't afford health care. We're talking friends and neighbors struggling to take care of themselves and their families. Many working long hours, or sometimes 2 jobs, in industries like retail, construction, childcare, and agriculture. Jobs that don't always offer benefits or pay wages high enough to allow someone to afford coverage on their own. That's why it's time the legislature fully expanded Badger Care for people making less than $8.50 an hour. It's a smart investment for our state, saving lives and taxpayer dollars, providing affordable health coverage for our citizens. Get the facts at betterbadgercare.com. Then tell your legislator to take action today. It's the right thing to do right now. Paid for by Citizen Action of Wisconsin.
Businesses today thrive and survive with technology. At Five Nines, we provide businesses with the IT tools they need to stay relevant. We offer enterprise-level solutions at competitive prices. I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO of Five Nines. Let us manage your IT so you can focus on more important things, like running your business. Check us out at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. In a 29-page indictment today, Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictments.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class. Wreaking havoc on America, just like they wreaked havoc on Wisconsin. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line. Always open for your take, talk, or text. Toll free, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, always love when John Nichols comes around in Osh Vegas, baby.
Woohoo!
And I find it somewhat ironic. The very beginning of the convention opened with a prayer, of course, but the preacher giving the prayer actually chastised these Republicans. I believe, in the prayer called them hypocrites. Well, Dom, we got to start there.
Oh, Heavenly Father, you know that when Wisconsin Republicans had the majority under Governor Walker, they did nothing to safeguard the rights of the preborn. Now, however, when we have a Democrat governor, these same Republicans piously claim they're against abortion, all the while knowing that any abortion bill they bring to the governor's desk will be vetoed. Dear Heavenly Father, forgive our Republican legislators for their hypocrisy.
Ouch, that has to sting a little bit, Tom.
Amen.
I don't necessarily for his abundant grace.
It is always more than enough, I think Scott Walker famously said. Now, the preacher's name, Reef. I think he had a little reefer madness, Tom.
James Reefer Madness. Calling for lawmakers to reinstate a ban on abortions in Wisconsin.
Now, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos, Republican from Rochester, addressed Reefer's prayer during his own remarks to the convention, reminding activists that Republicans had ended most government funding for Planned Parenthood and had passed a 20-week abortion ban during Walker's tenure.
Well, he better remind the Heavenly Father, because that's who the priest was talking to.
Here's what Vos said. I am profoundly proud of what we have done, especially over the last 8 years, to protect life. Vos said major restrictions to abortion would have to come in the federal court system, but states like Wisconsin have played a role in that. It is a continuum of effort to push the envelope to make sure that at some point states get to decide, as they should under the Constitution, the definition of life and what exactly is allowed to happen in the state, Vos said. Well, Dominic, Robin Vos went on to advocate for a 6-week abortion ban, much like they have in Alabama.
Any exceptions for rape or incest, or to hell with that too?
I'm not clear on that point, Dom. Now, Senator Ron Johnson, your friend and mine, said he did not advocate for a 6-week abortion ban. Not the sort they passed in Alabama. Thought that was a bridge too far. Thought they should do it on a state-by-state basis. Then the harshness of taking women's reproductive services and rights away from them. Well, it's all good, but only if it's done on a states' rights level. You know, Ron, always in it for the states' rights. Come back with us. It's your right to call, to party, to air your grievances. 844-967-2789. We'll be right back.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcroot.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
Five Nines, your local single-source IT solutions provider, specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Dominic, Milwaukee got the DNC, but Miami, they got the first presidential debate. We'll go on the road. We're taking this show to Miami.
Crudy once again dragging me all over the country, bringing the heat to Miami, Wisconsin style. Join us for a live broadcast Wednesday, June 26th and 27th. And don't forget the wrap-up show in Miami on Friday, June 28th.
Special on-the-scene in Miami coverage on WRRT 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Hawk 92.7 FM.
You are listening to WRRD 1510 AM, Waukesha, Milwaukee. Always streaming at newstalk1510am.com.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org. P4ppc.org.
You concerned about speaking up at work?
Do you feel like you have no say in your day-to-day work routine? Join Teamsters Local 344. Call 414-258-4545. Get a seat at the table. Join your brothers and sisters in negotiating for better wages, hours, and working conditions, and be part of the most powerful union in North America. Teamsters Local 344 covers sales and service throughout Southeast Wisconsin and package and airlines statewide. Contact Teamsters Local 344 at 414-258-4545 or at local344.org.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
For WRRD and WTTN, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. We are learning more about the firefighter who was shot and killed while on duty in Appleton last Wednesday. Mitchell Lundgaard was a family man, athlete, sports enthusiast, and dedicated public servant, according to a story in the Journal Sentinel. Lundgaard was 36 and a 14-year veteran of the Appleton Fire Department. He was shot when a gun battle erupted as he and other paramedics responded to a medical emergency at the downtown transit center in Appleton. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, partly cloudy with lows in the mid-40s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy in Milwaukee with highs in the upper 40s. For Madison, mostly cloudy and breezy with a chance of rain and highs in the mid-50s. You're listening to WRRD and WTTN, Wisconsin's political talk.
The Devil's Advocates. Political commentary from the back of the class.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are in the midst of the happy hour. The back half. I know you get happier the closer we get to the quitting time. We'll get you all the way home. But Dom wanted to bring up, there are a number of actions here in the state of Wisconsin, both tomorrow and this Thursday. Tomorrow being May 21st. If you are in the Oshkosh area, the Minocqua area, I want to make sure I get them all, the Polk County Balsam Lake area, the Lawrence College Appleton area, or the Barstow Street Eau Claire area, there are a number of actions tomorrow. The event is called Stop Abortion Bans Day of Action. It is focused on stopping abortion bans. And tomorrow in Oshkosh, there will be an event. As mentioned, most of these things get ready and they go about noon tomorrow, May 21st. You can find the locations at stopabortionbans.org. You're going to have to, put in Wisconsin as your search criteria. And for our friends in the Madison area, listening on Talk 92.7 FM, our action in Madison will be this Thursday, May 23rd. That will start at 6 p.m. at 2 East Main Street, Madison. Once again, Madison, wait till Thursday, May 23rd, starts at 6 p.m. at 2 East Main Street. And that, at least locally here, will be hosted by Madison National Organization of Women and Madison Abortion Defense. So this Thursday, right after the Devil's Advocates Radio Show, and action in Madison all across the state tomorrow at approximately noon.
And at the same time, Speaker Robin Vos from Wisconsin wants a 6-week abortion ban. Hell, if Alabama's going to do it, we got to get ours too.
Well, that apparently is what they think is appropriate. Dom have to defend themselves on this topic. Now, what about the accusations of this Reverend Reefer Man? What about the accusations that if these Republicans had any sort of courage, they would have passed a real abortion ban when Scott Walker was the governor. Now, we've talked about this, and he referenced, Robin Vos did, 20-week abortion ban. Scott Walker lied about that during the 2014 campaign, did that very soft, fuzzy, it's a tough decision between a woman and her physician.
Yeah, looking at the camera, all concerned about the women in Wisconsin.
And not only immediately after that election did he sign a 20-week abortion ban, Dom, let's not forget he also signed right to work, didn't want that one either. But all throughout, Scott Walker has been oppositional and quite proud of his ability to defund Planned Parenthood. We've seen the loss of Planned Parenthood clinics here in the state of Wisconsin. They cannot all sustain without the funding. So, they've got those things to hang their hats on. I think Wisconsin Republicans also often neglect to mention men sometimes receive care there as well, Dom. I know Chris Kapinga in a committee hearing, very dismissive of the 6,000 Wisconsin men that go to Planned Parenthood for their own care. That's an annual number to my memory.
But specifically to the Reverend's opinion, while, of course, this whole thing is asinine to me and women's choice is their choice and not for men like Robin Vos or the 25 yahoos in Alabama to decide, technically, if that's your true belief, if you think that God this is a dangerous thing and God's going to burn us all for it, if you truly believe that as a religious person and you don't go to the nth degree as a religious person, then how religious really are you?
You're going to burn in hellfire. That's how religious you are, Dom.
But you didn't do enough. Would God forgive you for not doing enough? When you had the House, you had the Senate, you had the governor. Hell, they could have done a 6-week abortion ban, right?
Sure.
They could have just outright banned abortions. They had the votes to do it, right? And if you're a true believer like the Reverend, yeah, you're a little hypocritical when you had the power to do it. And of course, lawsuits and court challenges, et cetera, would follow. But if you had the opportunity to walk through that door as a Christian, living your faith kind of Republican, and you didn't, I got to agree with the Reverend in some regard. Of course, this topic I disagree with entirely, but on that point, yeah, hypocrites. But of course, we all know that.
Do you think this is an issue that there is truly heartfelt belief on the Republican side, or do you think this has devolved into a social wedge issue? Do you think Republicans believe Republicans on this topic, Dom? I mean, when you see things as harsh as not having, exceptions for rape or incest.
I know, it's terrible. But again, how are you going to get in someone's head, right, and decide, well, some of these yahoos actually believe that if a woman becomes pregnant as a result of rape or incest, that it's God's will.
That's the silver lining. God's blessing.
But it's an excuse, but I'm the atheist here, man. You don't get to say that to me. What do you mean God's will? Isn't it God's will that we have the ability and the science to do something to make that not happen? Isn't that also God's will? I mean, give me a break. So if you take the God and the religion out of the equation, I mean, hell, the Republicans in Alabama were fine with the fertility clinics having their embryos because they weren't in a woman's body. Well, explain that logic to me. If conception is sperm, meat, egg, then what about all the frozen embryos? Oh, that's not a problem because it's not in a woman's body. The whole thing is hypocritical. So, yes, they are a hypocritical party. They're a fake religion. Given the fact that you could have here in Wisconsin, they could have gone and done it entirely as the Reverend has pointed out, and they declined to do so. And I think that's a good thing that they declined to do so. But now they can act all brave about it because, Evers is going to veto everything anyway.
Now, Dominic, other story coming out of the Journal Sentinel. Do you think that Robin Vos and Scott Fitzgerald are demonstrating their misogyny, if you believe Tony Evers, or at least if you believe the chief of staff and the spokesperson, Melissa Baldoff, for Tony Evers? Well, these Republican legislative leaders, they don't want to do any business because Tony Evers has women in positions of leadership and support. This article at the Journal Sentinel, Patrick Marley, updated a couple hours ago. Governor Tony Evers says voters should connect the dots on why Republicans won't meet with his female aides. I'm going to read. Governor Tony Evers suggested Monday that top Republicans would not meet with his aides because of sexism, but refused to address the issue directly. The Democratic governor initially would not address whether he agreed with his lead spokeswoman that GOP leaders wouldn't negotiate with his chief of staff because she's a woman. But he later issued a statement implying, mind you, Assembly Speaker Robin Vos of Rochester and Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald of Juneau weren't meeting with his aides because of sexism. Now here's a quote, Tom. Only Robin Vos and Scott Fitzgerald can say why they won't work with the women who are leading my office, Evers said in his statement. I have asked Republicans to work with my staff the way they worked with the former governor's staff. They know how to work with my staff and are choosing not to. So this is clearly a departure from past practice. You connect the dots. Vos and Fitzgerald have disputed such implications. Vos has noted his top aides are women and has said he believes Evers should be meeting directly with GOP leaders. And Fitzgerald called claims of sexism asinine, in part because the top Senate Republican working on the budget, your darling Alberta, Dom, well, she's also a woman. Now, the dispute began Saturday when Fitzgerald said the state Republican convention in Oshkosh that Evers had no point person for lawmakers. In response, Evers' spokeswoman, Melissa Baldoff, issued a statement saying Vos and Fitzgerald have repeatedly been told they should meet with Evers' chief of staff, Maggie Gao, just as they met with the former GOP governor, Scott Walker's chief of staff, Eric Schut. Again, a quote. That directive wasn't confusing to them when the chief of staff was a man, Baldoff said in her Saturday statement. Vos and Fitzgerald are clearly uncomfortable or simply unwilling to work with a leadership team made up entirely of women. Now, Dom, I'd like to speak from my personal experience. I'd like to tell people, audience members, we try to give them insights. I'd like to tell them what it's like to work with Maggie Gao and the leadership team over at Governor Evers' administration. However, we have also been completely shut out. We are persona non grata at the governor's office, so whoever's running the show over there, it's not just you, Robin Vos and Scott Fitzgerald. They don't like us either.
At a news conference Monday, Evers would not say whether he agreed with that assessment. He also deflected a question about abortion legislation, saying that he was speaking to reporters only about his support for automatic voter registration. So a way to tease it out there, Evers, and then not follow through and just kind of leave it hanging?
Well, if you're going to let Melissa Baldoff, and I respect Melissa Baldoff, I like her, but if you're going to let her make a statement on behalf of your administration, if she's going to make an accusation of sexism, well, you better be able to back it up, right? And you better have the boss's consent before you make a statement like that. If they do not speak on behalf of the governor, why are you letting her put a statement out like that? Because you're certainly not making things easier. And I think that Robin Vos does have some legitimate, pushback. I'm not saying Robin Vos really is a great guy to do business with, no doubt. If I were the legislative leader, I would seek meetings with the governor as well. Doesn't mean I'm going to get what I want, but I would ask. But here's what I would say in defense of Robin Vos, and you won't hear me defend him often. Kit Beyer, his chief of staff, she is a powerful woman in that Wisconsin state capitol. His comms director, also a woman. I mean, if this is purely misogyny, and, someone pointed out to me earlier today, Dom, just because you have one black friend doesn't mean you're not a racist.
Right.
Just because you've got a few powerful women in your office doesn't mean you're not a misogynist. But all in all, this blanket accusation doesn't ring true when you look at the people directly staffing Robin Vos's office, and there's one woman not to mess with, and her name is Kit Beyer.
Again, the statement from Melissa Baldoff, that directive wasn't confusing to them when the chief of staff was a man. Vos and Fitzgerald are clearly uncomfortable or simply unwilling to work with a leadership team made up entirely of women. And I would say, well, the other difference between the leadership team being a man and a woman is one was a Republican and the other one's a Democrat. Don't you think that maybe that might have some influence on this as well?
the partisanship more so than the sexism.
Well, and
question,
I don't know about the sexism. I don't know. But certainly the partisanship, absolutely, man. They don't want to sit down with the chief of staff. We want to sit down with Evers. I don't want to sit down with their chief of staff. Now, maybe we did it for Walker. Well, he was a Republican.
Well, Dominic, I cannot speak with any personal experience, not since he's become the governor. I've certainly talked to Maggie Gao when he was candidate Evers, but she's, radio silence as far as I'm concerned. I have had zero negotiations with the Evers administration since he's been elected. Not that he owes it to me either, but keep the lines of communication open. That's always prudent, I would say. 844, lines open right now. 844-967-2789. Come back with us, Devil's Advocates. It's God plan for your drive home.
In their last moments, people show you who they really are.
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I will call them from now on losers, because that's what they are. They're losers.
Hi, I'm Todd Stryker, President and CEO of Five Nines. Have you got your head in the clouds on how to manage IT for your enterprise? We can make your dreams a reality. With our enterprise cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting, we'll manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Consider Five Nines your personal enterprise IT solution. Enjoy technology. For more information, visit fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Hey, Milwaukee, do you have an office to clean out or close out? Don't call the junk man. Call my friends at Madison Liquidators. Sustainability is their business model. They'll pick up and recycle and refurbish your used furniture. They'll help keep your old office furniture out of the landfill. Find them online at MadisonLiquidators.com. Call Madison Liquidators, 608-831-1012. Madison Liquidators. Tell them the Devil's Advocate sent you.
Opiates has taken everything and everyone I've ever loved away from me. Everything.
I blew my ankle out and I got prescribed pain pills by my doctor.
If making my detox public is gonna help somebody, I'm all for it. I just wish I would have had a warning.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth. A message from Truth, the Ad Council, and ONDCP.
Tune in to Wisconsin's Political Talk, News Talk, 1510 a.m. Start your weekday off with the Earl Ingram Show from 7 to 9 a.m. Next, it's The Forum with Sherwin Hughes from 9 to noon. Then from noon till 2, the Tom Hartman program. At 2 o'clock, it's the Brian Kelly Show. From 3 to 6, it's the Devil's Advocates. Then at 6 o'clock, it's Jocasta Zamaripa, Maggie Dawn, and Unheard Of with Brandy Grayson. Listen online at newstalk1510am.com.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing. Hashtag Walker bashing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube, streaming on Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio. You can join us last segment of the day, 844-967-2789. Let's get to it. Pizza Box, Mike, you are up. Thanks for calling today, my friend. Happy Monday. What do you got for us?
Well, of course, Robin Voss's top aides are women. That's where you audition to become his next Mr. Sports wife. Sorry, Robin.
The couch, what do they call it? The couch casting call? I'm not clear how that works.
Oh, well, hey, I'm just going by history, repeat it. It seems to be, a pattern. But you know what? I'm still wondering what's wrong with these people who think they're religious. And the first rule, I thought, from God was that we had free will to act on what within the laws of the land, as long as we aren't breaking laws. You can't force somebody's religion on people, but that's what these guys do. And the worst part about it is they don't follow this religion. It's not about religion. It's not about pro-life.
Come on, Mike. That's the same defense Robin Voss has. It's his free will.
Well, listen. No.
Free
listen.
Willy.
Okay, so free will and pro-life would be blocking access to Planned Parenthood while allowing poor families in Milwaukee to drink poisoned water. That's pro-life? Cutting food share, cutting access, not allowing people to have access to vote or anything. That's pro-life. You guys are pro-death, man. Everything you touch is robbing.
No. I mean, it's only while the fetus is within a woman's body that these people give a damn. Once it's out and it's breathing, well, hell, now it's a taker. Now it's a liability. Now you better have a job. Now you better do something to take care of that kid because you had it.
Tell that baby to pull itself up by its booty straps.
Listen, I just, I don't look at, to me, the term is ending in a pregnancy. That's what it is to me. There's no way somebody can tell me that's a human being yet. You do it to your animals. You don't have any problem spaying or neutering or, getting rid of animals you don't want. I don't know. I guess human beings think that they run the world.
Well, the Republicans think they certainly own the world. They own the women's bodies, Pizza Box Mike, and that, of course, is a problem. It's not my business. It's up to them. I just don't understand why Republican men don't understand that.
Well, Republican men, at least the ones here in the state of Wisconsin, Dom, they just don't honor the desires of women, including the former governor, Scott Walker. I'm going to transition into
I see what you did there. We'll get to some more callers in a moment. 844-967-2789.
Little time for Walker bashing, if you will. Scott Walker has again ignored a request from an award-winning Wauwatosa high school teacher to quit using her name to make a point about collective bargaining nearly a decade after she first said she wanted the former governor to stop.
Please stop.
Wauwatosa East High School English teacher Megan Sampson earned national attention in 2011 when Walker first used her experience of being laid off from her first teaching job in a column published in the Wall Street Journal, defending his work to effectively end collective bargaining for public school teachers. Sampson said then, and again in 2015, that she didn't want Wanker to cite her experience to champion the law known as Act 10. But 8 years later, Walker is still ignoring the teacher's wishes, even after leaving the governor's office. Don, we talked about that Washington Times column he published last Thursday, and in a radio appearance last week, Walker again cited Sampson's layoff from a Milwaukee school district under a last hired, first fired policy that existed in many teachers' contracts until Act 10 banned them. A spokesman for Walker didn't answer whether he first sought permission from Sampson, because, of course, the answer is no, he didn't.
Hell no, he didn't.
Time for callers time?
Yeah, we got some time. 844.
That's the gist. Scott Walker still a jacknut.
Here briefly, Walker in his recent column quoted a passage about Sampson in his book, largely recounting his effort to eliminate such senior policies. But why on earth would they get rid of a great new teacher like Ms. Sampson, especially in Milwaukee, which is one of the most troubled urban school districts in the nation? ? Well, under the collective bargaining rules, when there are layoffs, the last teachers hired were the first teachers to be fired.
Wisconsin Republicans, there are still Act 10 layoffs, lawsuits going on in Wisconsin legislative Republicans, even though that Tony Evers and Josh Call are named defendants on behalf of the state of Wisconsin, et al., Tony Evers et al., Josh Call et al. Wisconsin legislators want to go in and defend the Evers administration with private counsel at $500 an hour. And, we, the taxpayers, will pick up the tab. This is 5 or more different lawsuits that Republican legislators wanted to, enter the fray on, including the one about gerrymandering, right up to the point where Robin Voss is asked to depose. And he says, can't do that. I'm going to appeal.
And on that note, Speaker Voss, according to the Journal Sentinel, Patrick Marley, gets a temporary reprieve from appeals court in that gerrymandering case.
Have a nicer guy, ?
We'll see what happens. Brock from Horicon, you are up. Happy Monday, Brock. What do you got for us?
Hey, Brock.
Well, these guys, Republicans, first of all, are only interested in this abortion issue because they're interested in repressing women and repressing the vote. That seems to be their thing. This whole voter ID thing, that's another example of it. You go up and down their voting records, and I'm sure everything that they voted for has something to do with repressing somebody's vote or keeping somebody from voting. That seems to be their whole thing. And then we do it under the guise of religion, which I don't want to get into that can of worms, but I would profess that I'm a non-believer in all of that stuff for exactly that reason. As soon as you get into church and you start hearing, well, those people and these people, and we might get a vote for this guy, and I'm pretty sure that's not anything, even if God would exist, that he would be allowing to happen. I just don't get what people have against ladies. Without them, none of us would exist.
Mm-hmm.
Your moms, your daughters, your sisters, why wouldn't you want them to have every opportunity that was furnished to white males? I think they're scared that if women ever get in power, that they're going to enact the same policies against men that men have acted against women, especially Republican men, for decades. And I don't see that letting up anytime soon. I'm not sure how you change it. I try to bookend your show by calling and trying to communicate with my local representative for the state. It seems like Mark Bourne is no longer in office because there's some lady on an answering machine at his office for like the last 2 weeks, so maybe I got the wrong number. And my buddy Scott Fitzgerald is the same thing. They're all big tough guys when they're on the radio or when they're on the phone or when they're standing 80 feet away from you. But if you want to personally interact with them, oh, no, we don't have time. We're going to run around and come and let's debate what your record is. Show me one instance in the decade that Scott Fitzgerald has been in office where he has voted for something that behooves anybody that he supposedly represents other than big pharma or big agriculture. And you won't find one. I'll hang up and listen to what you have to say.
Right, thanks,
I really
Brock.
appreciate what you guys do. Later.
Thanks, Brock. One quick note. I don't believe that these abortion bans are repressive per se. I think they, in fact, have just the opposite intent. They're trying to inspire single-issue voters, this evangelical bloc that they don't care what sort of immoral man Donald Trump is, as long as he gives them a national abortion ban. I think it's more made to inspire than repress voters per se.
But it's repression of the women is the end result of those laws.
Repression of the will of the women, certainly it is. Well, they don't give a damn about women, Dom. Don't let them fool you. It's only been 100 years that women have had the right to vote. Thanks to all our fine guests, John Nichols, National Affairs Correspondent at The Nation. Our friend, comedian Will Durst. Always love when we get to his commentaries. Appreciate your patience, Will. And we appreciate all of you for listening right here on WRRD 1510 AM, WTTN 1580 AM, and Talk 92.7 FM in Madison. All you got to do is preset 3 on the dial. Doesn't matter where you're at. We've got a signal that's right for you. Now stick around. Our friend Joe Costa Samaripa, The Joe Costa Show. It's coming up next.
I drink and I know